button here. Right, okay.
Had you not recorded there?
Yeah, you forgot to remind me about the record.
See, we weren't that leading organised,
we
was we?
weren't organised.
Even in Leanne.
Right, as I was saying, Tony Topping was endorsed by Joseph McMoneagle, who is best known for claims surrounding the investigation of remote viewing and the use of paranormal abilities for military intelligence gathering. Has endorsed Tony on his PSI research by saying Tony Topping has spent quite some time collecting and establishing knowledge about remote viewing across the planet. While some might believe otherwise, he has clearly established considerable evidence that goes to uncovering much about remote viewing that the public should be aware of. Through his efforts and those of some others, it has become a well-developed and better understood asset of humanity at large. In our day and age, where much of the information available has no authentic or verifiable background, Tony has put together a compendium of knowledge which can help those interested in pursuing this subject to some degree. There may be some minor errors within his listings of presenters, but for the most part, his vetting efforts have been successful more than not. And basically, it goes on to say that he recommends Tony's site as a place where one can begin to understand the complex world of remote viewing and its somewhat vague history. You've come across remote viewing, haven't you, Neil?
I've only dabbled,
dabbled,
but it's very similar to astral travel, which I did for quite a while, a few years ago. But
and got told off.
Yes, I got told off. I got slapped for it, so I never sort of returned to that one.
But viewing is used in military intelligence as well. So
yes, it has. Yeah, they've got a history. I mean, the Americans still use it.
Yeah.
I mean, our military still use it to a certain degree.
Well, we'll find out a little bit more about that in a bit from Tony. He's going to talk to us about that.
Can I say, well, before we get into Tony, because there seems to be a misconception on what remote viewing is. I mean, I don't know whether you printed that out. If so, I'm sure you'll tell people. But I found something that seemed to be more akin to passing messages from person to person rather than remote viewing. I mean, we try it in a circle for you, but they're calling that remote viewing, and it's completely different to what Tony's talking about.
The way, without going into too much detail, remote viewing is actually you sort of joining with a said person or a said area in a mindful way, shall we say? And picking information about that area or that person and collaborating that down on paperwork. That's why I was saying it's very, very similar to astral travel. You can travel from one place to another, but as your soul person, shall we say? Sounds like the Blues Brothers. And it's very, very similar. It's a very similar thing, what you're doing.
So basically, you being at home, sending information to me, and me picking it up.
And you picking her up, or the other way around, would be that you would be picking information up from a person somewhere else. And putting that down. I mean, it's got to be done in a way that... Yeah, because
I've heard stories where really good remote viewers, all they're given is a set of coordinates, and they basically just concentrate on the... So they're not actually picking up from anybody at the other end. They're just picking up on a place.
Yeah, it can be done that way. But what I was saying about picking information up from... Say somebody came to me with a photograph. I wanted to pick information up from this guy. He's going to be at such and such a place at such and such a time. Then you would obviously your mindset would then be on that person at that particular point at that particular time, and you'd be trying to pick information up from what that person's maybe saying or doing or where he is and what the surrounding area is, what you can see, and writing that information down and recording it.
So what we do in our circle, apart from the fact we're in the same room, is practically the same thing.
It's It is sort of, yeah. It's
It's
the very basic steps. Put it that way.
baby steps.
Baby steps, yeah.
Over to you, Susie.
Okay, so that's that anyway. And then later on, we're going to be talking to Sacha Claire Christie, who is a British UFO researcher who lives in Liverpool with her fiance, it says finance here, 4 children, 2 cats, a rabbit and a snake. She is a lifelong ET experiencer. After a lifetime of high strange, which has left her feeling rather frayed at the edges, she decided to put together a witness support network with the emphasis on privacy. She has long campaigned for witness support for their rights, which had decided to take that further, and is currently studying human rights and equal right laws to better protect people who come forward about these anomalous experiences. She is UK Director for ICAR, which is International Community for Abduction Research, and is founder of UFOW, UFO Witness, which offers completely free, private, confidential support for people who would rather not talk in public, and advice and support to those who are out and proud. She is also co-host with Guy Weddle on the Citizen Sane Radio, and is also a part of a team of good-hearted, truly dedicated folks on Critical Mass Radio, where she broadcasts her Rebel Without a Pause show. She also regularly takes part in paranormal investigations and speaks on the UK lecture circuit, and has been involved in various TV and video projects. So she should be quite interesting talking to her.
Bit of an all-rounder there.
She is. So
Bit of a mixed bag.
yeah, comes from Liverpool.
Or maybe she's not a bag, sorry. Shouldn't have said it. Wrong thing to say there, sorry.
No, the show's
I
a
didn't
bit
mean
of
it that way.
No, the show's a bit of a mixed bag.
Yes.
And why have all the paranormal investigators moved to bleeding Liverpool?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know.
Because it's a good place to be. It's the central point of where it's happening.
I don't know.
This is not
It's not really, I'm just
1962.
making that up.
This is not 62, you know. Here, there's a few more people coming in to see us. Debs has come in.
Good. As I say, we mentioned Leanne, didn't we?
Yes, we did, and Green Lee.
Right, so what we'll do is, as I say, if anyone knows anything about Facebook, what's going on at the moment, because I don't, I'm a bit weird, getting confused.
We know you're a bit
actually.
weird, dear.
Shut up. I need to do this job. For some unknown reason, I can't seem to get more than the 4 posts that are on the actual page, and I'm getting a little bit fed up with it. Jo's had a look earlier, and she's okay, and I just can't understand what's going on. And so I've tried sorting out my Trifield Paranormal Network, but I've found out today that I'm having problems with me Paranormal Events page as well, because I can't get people to register. But it will be sorted. I will get that sorted. teething problems, that's what it is. But at least the TPN network's up there and running, so it was all fine my end. I know it was, Joe. It's all fine on Steve's computer, so I don't understand.
And I'm in the same room.
And other groups I'm looking at, even my own groups, I'm still getting what I want, but I'm not getting it on there, so I don't know. FB are up to something again. Well, anyway, let's get on with the observations. We've got there wasn't much out there this week, I must admit, but we're going to start off in America, which is where it always acts, doesn't it? So there's filmmakers that are offering $100,000 reward for the best UFO evidence. Apparently, on the 2nd of March, there's going to this filmmaker, James Fox, who is working on what he describes as a definitive UFO film, and he has aims to release the film in movie theatres across the country. He's also known as a UFO for his documentaries like Out of the Blue and I Know What I Saw, and he will be revealing more details about this film at the International UFO Congress in Fountain Hills, Arizona on Saturday, such as the name of the world-renowned screenwriter with whom he is working, and details about a large cash incentive being offered by the film's producers for UFO evidence. Fox told the Huffington Post that the producers of this UFO film are offering $100,000 for the best UFO or extraterrestrial related evidence. Fox explained this material can be in the form of photographs, video or film footage or debris from an alleged crash site, but it must be able to withstand scientific scrutiny by our chosen panel. So I'm assuming that's just for the Americans, but I'm sure it will come over here sooner or later. Always does. Staying with America.
Always seems to start there, and then all of a sudden we get loads of it.
Now, this was posted, I can't see it, but it was posted on the KTPF page last week. I didn't really have time to go into it, but it's been updated since then. It was updated on the 26th. Oklahoma authorities investigating a mystery death have come up with a rare theory. They are looking into whether or not a 65-year-old man died from spontaneously bursting into flames. This is a case that I've never seen before, said Sheriff Ron Lockhart. Family members found Danny Van Zantz dead Monday 18th of February inside his home outside of Muldrow, Oklahoma. The body was burned and it was incinerated, Longhart said. Longhart believes the death could be a rare case of spontaneous human combustion. I think there's only about 200 cases worldwide, and I'm not saying that this has happened. I'm just saying that that we haven't ruled it out, he said. Lockhart said the fire didn't damage the house and there was no sign of struggle. There was no damage to the furniture or anything around the fire. So it was a low heat fire, he said. Family said they noticed the back window of the man's pickup truck was busted out. Investigators sent the body to the medical examiner's office in Tulsa, Oklahoma. If you read about spontaneous human combustion, that's what we have here, Lockhart said. He said Van Zantz was an alcoholic and an avid smoker. The autopsy report is pending. Well, recently me and Steve were watching an episode of New Tricks, and it was assumed the cause of death on this particular episode was spontaneous human combustion. And on experimenting with a pig, which is close to our body mass, it was discovered that a low heat caused in this case by falling asleep while smoking in the program. The fat slowly burns and the extremities were left intact as they don't have much fat content. So is this spontaneous human combustion resolved, or would you think there's more to it? What do you reckon, Neil? You ever come across
I don't know, if you're smoking heavily and drinking alcohol, it doesn't mix, does it?
It doesn't really, but apparently
Set
we've
fire
got
to brandy.
so much fat in us that it actually, apparently it does actually take
Well,
a
yeah, I
long
mean the
time
fat
to
would
burn.
the fat would act as a wick, but
Yeah.
I mean if you imagine the amount of nitrogen that you're producing just in the stomach alone, you know, if you're living off, say, something like beans or something, you know, and your metabolism's working that fast, it's, I think, I don't know, maybe possible.
So I've just got visions now because Joe said I will have fallen asleep with a cig in his mouth. I nearly do that all the time, she said. So I've got a picture of a fag in mouth dropping off.
Yeah, and then ended up in the morning just a pair of slippers.
Yeah, don't do it again, Joe.
Okay, well, there was a story on Sky News that I noticed this week. Apparently, on Saturday the 23rd of February, there's a new mystery going around the shores in Peru. Nearly 100 dead sea creatures and birds have washed up on a Peruvian coastline. And experts are trying to work out the mystery surrounding their deaths. Sky News reported that 18 sea turtles, 22 sea lions, 16 angler rough sharks, 8 dolphins and 22 marine birds were found during an inspection by government officials. A number of the creatures were sprayed with a special paint as part of the investigation of the discovery along 77 miles of the Lambayeque coastline, or words to that effect. The bodies were measured, placed in bags and taken away for analysis. They were in various states of decomposition. Jamie De La Cruz, an engineer at Peru's Ocean Institute, said details of their cause of death were expected in the coming weeks. According to Mother Nature Network, Peru's Deputy Environment Minister Gabriel Kijandria said warming waters disturbing species food supplies was a possible cause. He said although tests on the animals had not been completed, contamination of heavy metals or the presence of bacteria infections were not responsible. Kijandria added that it will extend to other coastal areas, noting that there would be an interest in the numbers of birds and other sea life killed. Although a case has not been found, some of the possible explanations include viruses, poisonous food source, or offshore oil exploration. The health ministry urged people to stay away from the beaches around Lima and on the northern coast until the cause of death of marine life is known. Now, a little closer to home, can you solve the mystery of the beast from the east? On Monday, a mysterious creature was washed up on Tembe's South Beach over the weekend. The photograph was taken by 27-year-old Peter Bailey from Tembe, who was walking his dog along the beach on Friday evening. He told the Western Telegraph, "I was taking my dog for her evening walk across the South Beach when she started acting out of character by howling and running around in circles. I ran up to her to see if she was okay, and then I came across this hideous looking carcass. I could see it had little hair left on its decomposable body. Immediately I thought it was a horse, but it had claws like a bear and a body of a pig. Surprisingly, it didn't smell." Do you know what this strange beast from the east could be? If you should stumble across something like this in future, put something in the picture that makes it possible to scare the creature at first glance. Use a coin or a wallet, a phone, or even a shoe. Then it will give people the idea what it is. I'll find the link for you, and then you can have a look for yourself.
I think Neil knows what it is, judging by the way he just started giggling.
Well, when I said horse, he just started laughing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what?
It is surprising what the sea will do to an animal. When it's first of all, the waves going in and out. It's on the whatever's underneath on the ocean floor. It's all the hair's coming off. It's getting bloated.
Oh, exactly. It's getting bashed about.
Yeah.
It's bloated up.
It's getting
mangled.
It's getting partially
rotted.
Partially eaten by fish.
Yeah.
Well, this is it. There was a case of this in America somewhere where they thought they found this montroc or whatever it was.
Turned out to be a raccoon.
A raccoon that
yeah.
bloated and what have you. So, but they're all mysterious.
Yeah. Going back to the animals that have been found dead. I'm beginning to think I dreamt this because I can't actually find it. But I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that there was an eruption under the sea. And something's been disturbed down there. It'll come up, and that's what's killing the animals.
Yeah, I was thinking that. It could have been a sudden heat surge. That's,
I never did Google it to find out, so, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to find out where I thought I'd seen it, and it wasn't there, so I'm beginning to think I dreamt it.
So, I don't know. There was one in 2009, apparently. There's a YouTube thing on that. But you never know. It could be something like that. But it's quite a lot of animals, though, wasn't it? I
know there's been an earthquake somewhere. So, I mean, that could have been tied in with an eruption undersea. Yeah. I don't know, but it's possible.
Yeah, I think it was Chile way, wasn't it, the other one? The one that... which is not that far from Peru, is it? It's South America still, isn't it? I'm not sure my geography out that way.
Yeah, it is. It's around that. It's around the same area, shall I say?
So could it be possible that it got affected? The animals were originally from the Chile area where the eruption was, and they've ended up on the beach in Peru.
If you imagine how crowded that sea is, and it just takes one blast of. I mean, you're looking at hundreds of degrees, aren't you?
Yeah.
Of a gas that's come up through the sea, and it'll just wipe anything in its path, wouldn't it? You know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, our Andy's just come in. B19AJN, who is one of the newest members of the
team.
UK Shadow Seekers, and he said, my mates just said they found the missus. That's not nice.
He looks like a bore, says Joe. Well, that's all right. He said earlier that he fell asleep with a cigarette once and burnt the quilt, and his wife's temper spontaneously combusted.
Oh, what?
Marie's not that bad, surely.
Who? B19 AGN.
That's Andy.
That's Andy Needham.
Hi, Andy.
This is Anne Neil.
Hi.
You'll
Hello.
meet him one day.
One day.
One day. Probably on the 9th of March.
Could possibly, yeah.
You better be there.
Look at that face. Look at that face. Of course I'll be there.
Soon nearly spontaneously combusted.
I know, yes. The combustion in the face then.
You've got a documentary starting that day.
You're about to erupt. Look at the face. Look.
I was. So like, what are you going on about?
It's surprising how she sounds more like a liverpudlian when she gets like that, doesn't it?
Doesn't it?
Face.
Yeah. Sounds like my mum.
And she's from Kent,
Right.
so
Don't you, mum?
Shut up. Don't start on me. They're all starting on me. I'm not having a good day. I said on Monday I was going to have a restful day. I put it on Facebook. I ended up turning the place around.
I'm not having a good week. Never mind a good day.
And if tonight goes well, I'll be happy.
domestic.
Domestic. We're having another one.
Fight.
Ooh,
I don't know.
Missed that one.
If you're new to the show, this is normal.
And I'm going home. See you, folks.
This is just a little bit of fun that we have every week. We try and bring you a little bit of everything. And across the scale, we are KTPF, which stands for Keeping the Paranormal Friendly. But this is just a little spin-off show that we do from it that covers everything and anything. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to be covering quite a lot of subjects pertaining to the unknown. So I can't call it zone unknown because that's not right.
You're in trouble. You just read that, did you?
What did you just
Leanne
read?
said, "Spit that gum out."
It's going.
Oh.
Not in this house. No spitting of gum.
Oh dear. See, you don't have to be here to have a domestic. You can be one on the chat room and one in the one in the house.
It's going now. It's going now.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, there's a toilet there.
Yeah. Helen wants to know where Harry Hill is.
I don't know. I think he's in Norfolk. Sorry, John. So, but yeah, we have a bit of fun here, and it's all a bit like bad Neil. Oh, Helen said bad Neil. You're getting it all.
What have I done now?
Chewing gum. Keeping the paranormal mental. Yeah, that's more like it, isn't it?
Gum's gone.
Nigel.
Gum's gone.
I don't know.
The only thing with that is I've got no gum now, and I chew the gum to stop me smoking.
Well, what's happened to your little peace pipe?
Yeah, what's happened to your electric one?
Because I've been banned off that as well.
Oh God. See, that's what happens.
Leanne, stop banning him off of things. If he either uses that, or he chews gum, or he smokes cigarettes, which is it going to be?
Thank you, Steve.
He's got to do one.
Right, okay. Well, what we're going to do is, without any further ado,
and I think the electric ones are safer.
I think we're going to go.
After all, smoking causes cancer. He might choke on the gum, so you want him. Yeah.
Are you finished?
Yeah.
Tony's waiting in the wings.
Hello, Tony. Go get Tony.
He will be in a minute. Right, okay, let's call the man. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give the guy a ring. It's been a long time coming. And we haven't spoken to Tony for ages. And I'm hoping we're going to speak to him tonight.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Tony. How are you?
Very well. They sound like a right from lot in there. You've got to get them sorted, love. It's no good.
Oh, I know. You're telling me. They're all having a go at me. How are you? It's been so long since we spoke to you. We tried to get you on before Christmas, but you had other engagements.
Yes, that's absolutely right. It's not. I'm all right. Go on. Well, I'm all right. I'm absolutely.
You sound like you're Superman and you're flying through the air at the moment.
Yeah, well, you could say it's a paranormal bloody suit. But yeah.
So whereabouts are you at the moment?
But I'm in near Yorkshire.
In where, sorry?
Selby, near York.
Oh right, okay. There seems to be a shushing sound. That's why I was asking.
Sounds like a lot of traffic.
Yeah, well, no, there's also probably the world of the paranormal intersecting with the microphone, electronic noise phenomena.
It sounds like it. I don't know. Well, hopefully, somebody just said, "Are you up a mountain?"
I'm up a mountain. I'm up an alley somewhere. I'm up a dark alley at the moment.
Live from London Airport, says Nigel Mortimer.
TPF community show.
Pardon?
On KTPF community show.
Right, anyway, how are you? What have you been up to?
Well, I've been doing all kinds of things since I last saw you. We're doing a load of we're trying to get some crowdsourced projects off the ground at the moment, which I'm just going to not quite going to, but we're getting there. But we're battling against rejections, ignorance, generally on the media front, production companies being asses and people not understanding the subject matter and showing their ignorance. We've had a hideous going on with the BBC. Can't really go into because it's under the terms of Ofcom at the moment. But that was fun and interesting. And so it's this constant kind of battle. And also there's all the other stuff, the paranormal stuff that's going on, which is also a continual bloody ongoing thing. And it doesn't get any easier. And I think the changes that we see around us, all the austerity stuff and all that kind of thing is the Savile stuff with the BBC, all esoterically driven. There's an end is esoterically driven behind it all, regardless of what people may say. And I think one has to ask, who does our Parliament speak for?
Yeah.
Do they speak for the esoteric that they follow, or do they speak for the people? In saying that, because there are two Masonic lodges in Parliament, who do they speak for? Do they speak for us, or do they speak for them? When you get into the esoteric of things, and I know we're covering remote viewing. I'm going off piece, but that's how I feel at the moment about.
That's fine. That's not a problem. So, and as we're talking about remote viewing, I don't know if you heard, but I did give you a bit of an introduction earlier when I was talking about it, because Joseph McMoneagle has endorsed you on your site about your research. So. Tell us more about it, because when some of us think of remote viewing, we think about the paranormal side, thinking about an object or whatever and stuff like that. Can you tell us what it actually is?
Remote viewing is the sun. Oh
God! Hang on, there really is a bit of a connection problem here, Tony. Yeah. Hold on a sec. I've got your numbers.
On my home phone number.
Hold on, yeah. Are you there at home? You are, aren't you?
Give me a minute, I'll put my home phone.
Right.
Won't be a minute.
Okay, I've just got to get your number. Which I don't seem to have.
Shall I send it to you on Facebook, my dear?
Yeah, message it on Facebook and I'll call you back.
Right, I'll do that straight away.
Thank you, my love.
Alright, I'll disconnect now.
Okay, bye. Shame about the connection there. I don't know what was going on. The wind was getting up, wasn't it? So I'll just wait for him to message it on Facebook. I don't know what's going on there at all.
It kind of makes you wonder. I mean, all the things that he said before about people watching him and monitoring him, it could quite be that the monitoring equipment is actually affecting the Skype.
Yeah, it could be.
What do you think, Neil? As an ex-military man yourself.
Don't know. I don't know. Could be the wind. Who's to say?
He's in his house.
I mean, he did say he was up an alley. So I knew you get wind up an alley, it's going to rush, isn't it?
He's in a house.
Yeah, but he's actually in his home.
He said he was up an alley. If you're up an alley, then you've got a vacuum problem there, haven't you?
I think that's.
I thought I would have had his number in my. We will get back to. I told you it's going to go array tonight.
So.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Oh, have you got it? I've got it here.
He's just come up with a message.
I've got it now.
Oh, you've got it over there. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just ring this now.
Here we go. So we're going to do it the old-fashioned way, just like we did last. We did it last time. That's right, didn't we?
Did we?
Yeah, because the Skype was playing up.
So hope my phone holds out. Where are we?
It should do. It's been on charge, so.
075.
Hello.
Is that better?
That's better. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's...
Can everybody hear him all right in the chat room? Can you please give him a test for me?
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah, can everybody hear him okay?
Go on, answer me, guys. It don't take long to say yes or no.
Go on, tell us.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
So, a lot better. That's better then. Right, okay. So where was we?
We were
Right, so
talking about...
remote viewing,
Yes,
Tony.
remote viewing. Yeah, well, remote viewing is the subconscious... some would argue it's a psychic technique, but it's actually to do with the subconscious mind reaching out to a distant location, accessing information, and basically drawing it at a distance. So it's like the ability to remotely see something without actually being there. And there's all kinds of techniques, but the main one is something called coordinate remote viewing. There's scientific remote viewing, and there's the one the Russians did, which is like an out of body technique, which is psychic. But mainly, the one that the Americans developed was in response to the Russians, and that was called Scan8, Project Scan8, Scan by Coordinates, and it's all about the subconscious mind decoding data from a distant location and actually drawing it. For example, we went to an air training squadron the other night, and I gave them a target to look at. They didn't know what the target was. They had to draw it using specific techniques. And it was a North Korean rocket launching site. And one of them, out of a group of 20, drew the thing. Drew the rocket, drew the symbols on the rocket. I thought it was superb. And so it works. And it was called, it was started by Stanford Research Institute, and the technique's known as remote viewing, or CRV, coordinate remote viewing, which is something I'm very au fait with. There's also scientific remote viewing, which is handy for doing paranormal stuff with, and remote viewing aliens and UFOs and things.
Right, okay. So for the paranormal minded, how would they do that?
Well, basically, what they would basically do, how can I put it? In a word, the Stanford, it's all about signal from noise. So it's all about, the key teaching of it is to separate the signal from the noise. So a psychic, for example, they discovered had a very noisy mind, and a lot of stuff was coming in the way of kind of like getting into the signal. So, for example, if they were tasked to go to a remote view a target, if they were extremely psychic, they'd have all sorts of data coming in that was completely irrelevant. But if people were good drawers and artists and stuff like that, they were quite gifted at it. So what it's called is the bit between the mind and the target is called the signal line. And what they did is they adapted techniques so that the signal line could be enhanced. In other words, the invisible link between the target location and the subconscious mind could be enhanced, amplified, and the conscious mind could be bypassed using something called an ideogram technique. They put millions into doing this, and they developed a specific template that would draw an ideogram, a symbol that would be like the subconscious link between the target and the site location. Sorry, I beg your pardon, between the remote viewer and the site location. And so, but the Russians developed all kinds of techniques to try. It was psychic warfare, and so a lot of these projects, they came into projects like Stargate, Grill Flame, Gondola Wish, which is something that's very secret. We don't quite know what Gondola Wish is all about, but there was all kinds of things. And then there was the Russian KGB, who also developed remote viewing. But what is hilarious about them is they developed something called, well, it wasn't what they did, data channeling they called it. And the Politburo thought they'd gone crazy because these hardened KGB men set up their own remote viewing unit and started channeling aliens. And they weren't just doing it ad hoc either. They had precision mechanisms in place to filter the data of what they were looking at. So and they pumped millions into it. And so that was called Troop 1003. And they were a special remote viewing unit of the KGB, to which Joseph McMoneagle, who was one of the top remote viewers in the US Army, was fully aware of and kind of like pointed me in the right direction of. What is fascinating about the KGB guys is they formed, out of remote viewing, a whole new understanding of cosmology called new cosmology. And it's odd because there's no publisher wants to touch their work with a barge pole, and it's absolutely outstanding. And I'd recommend the website to the guys in the studio and the guys and girls there and the listeners. It's called newcosmology.com, N-O-O, with the word cosmology.com. Absolutely incredible stuff. And they go through how man is a signal processor, and that's what the U.S. Air Force concluded. Signal processor.
Yeah, this Joseph, he remote viewed quite a lot of things, though, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He remote viewed a submarine base in Russia that they were having difficulty getting data on. It probably went far deeper than what's in the public domain, and it will have done because there's a lot going on that goes far deeper than just simply remote viewing. I think the film Inception rings very closely to the mark of finding answers as to what is going on in the world of the paranormal and aliens and UFOs and parallel universes. There does appear to be some type of non-locality function going on where when we dream at night, for example, and this is a fine example, it seems that all non-locality, all time as we know it, has broken down, and all kinds of inception is going on within that environment. And that leaves all kinds of things to happen, including parallel universes, and parallel people like yourself. You could be talking now in another universe, and you might look roughly, but that's what they kind of came across when they were doing all this. And a lot of it went classified, and a lot of it went public. But it was the Russians who kind of twigged that the brain was a tuning fork. The Russians said that the brain was very much like a tuning fork, and you had to tune it correctly.
Yeah.
If you didn't, you'd get DNA malfunction and all sorts. So their system, their technique was based on tuning the brain, where the Americans was based on a subconscious technique. Absolutely fascinating. If you have a look at the work of Joseph McMoneagle on YouTube, and he did a lot of work with the Monroe Institute on out-of-body experiences, and it's just absolutely amazing what happened to him. And I've forgotten the guy, Alexei Slavin. He was the head of the KGB remote viewing unit, and a lot of these men had spiritual awakenings through it. So something's definitely going on, and the technique works. The CRV technique of using an ideogram and extracting data on a template works marvelously, because they wanted something that anybody could do. Pity I'm not you. It's a pity. I must come to the studio.
Yes.
And we'll do a remote viewing session with you all.
That would
live
be great.
there.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'll arrange that with you, because we did it with BBC Lancashire, and he was absolutely cock-a-hoot with it. He did it on the radio, and he was absolutely cock-a-hoot with it. So we'll do that.
Yeah.
Would that be good? We'll get that sorted.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, sounds good. Sherlock said that Uri Geller used to do some remote work with the US government.
Yeah, yes, he did. I don't know much about Uri Geller. I think he did a bit more with the Israelis as well. I'm not too sure where Uri Geller. I'd have to look at my research again because I've forgotten whereabouts he fits in. But he was involved in one of the projects. But the real serious players are Lynn Buchanan, Ed Dames, and Matt Monagle, and of course Ingo Swan. A guy called Ingo Swan who recently passed over, and he was very involved in remote viewing. And there was a retired police sergeant called Pat Price, who was absolutely superb at it. He was that good. The rumour is that the Russians got him because he was that good. It was at the height of the Cold War, and it really was hair-raising what was happening in terms of psychic warfare and all this kind of thing. Except America was actually researching it even before then in 1950. They were actually looking at all this in 1950, so it was all very interesting stuff.
Yeah, and Reiki Deb said it sounds like the Buddhist idea of oneness.
It sounds like the what? Sorry.
The Buddhist idea of oneness.
What does? Sorry. What sounds like what? The new cosmology?
Yeah, when you're saying about tuning the mind and that.
Yes, yeah. They're definitely. It's outstanding work, and the disappointing thing about it is that it's just sat there on this internet site, and no publisher there published some of the work, what they discovered, because the quality. I mean, for example, you could have a channeler in your room now, and he's channeling from the planet Zargon and telling you all kinds of things, but it doesn't cross-correlate with anybody else in the room who also has the ability to channel. It's never the same.
Yeah.
Whereas these Russian guys in this special unit, they had all kinds of protocols and kind of control to make sure that the data was absolutely pure. Where that data went, I've no idea. By the way, I've no idea where that went. But it's safe to say that the India, which I'm a bit of a specialist on India and their remote viewing and UFOs and things, and they've been using it quite a lot. They recently discovered using remote viewers, so it is said, corruption in their Navy department and all that kind of thing. So a lot of countries use it, including China.
Yeah, you were saying that Inception seems to be quite close. Didn't you see that film recently, Neil? And you said it was pretty close to what you know of the paranormal
Yeah,
world.
it was quite, yeah. It was a good film, actually. I don't know if anybody's seen it on the chat.
Yeah,
but it's very close.
It's a bit close, is that, to probably what goes on in a rough kind of sense when dealing with all the paranormal, the paranormal shenanigans that happen to people like me, for example, who get in these insane situations and no idea why, frankly. And that's why I studied remote viewing, because I'd got into this. I hasten to add, I'm genned up on it. I know it inside out. I'm not all that good at it. I've got to say, I'm not. It'll take me months to get it perfected, but I know my ins and outs on it, and I needed to know because I wanted to know answers to what was happening to me.
Yeah.
So I looked at it to see if there was anything in it, and sure enough there was. That the mind is a doorway and it's a processor of information, and all that kind of thing,
So that obviously people are training to do this. So where are they getting the training from?
Well, one of the best courses I would recommend is Ed Dames's course called Learn Remote Viewing. And there's the Hawaiian Remote Viewing Guild, which is a very good one. And then there's Ed's courses cost some money, but I think you'll find that for free, if you want a free course, if you go to Scientific Remote Viewing, Courtney Brown, on his website, he's got the whole course for free, and it's basically an enhancement of the CRV course, but things are there's very subtle tweaks to it. It's very different as to how it all works. For example, you draw an ideogram rapidly with the CRV technique, but with the SRV technique, you don't draw the ideogram. You pause after you've drawn the ideogram. So there's different little tweaks, and so on. But I would recommend, if you wanted a real good little course, I would recommend Edna Dames's CRV course, and you can get them on eBay. If you have a look on eBay, as cheap as chips, the actual course, pretty cheap for about 20 quid, compared to the $349 I think that they charge for it.
So we've got one here, Chemtrails is a name for you. Says Ingo Swann was one of the best and most famous remote viewers, died recently. Is that the one you mentioned?
Yeah, that's the one.
So I think he's just come on Chemtrail.
Yeah,
he's not been on long. So don't forget, guys, if you've got any questions for Tony, please type them out.
Fire away.
I'm sure he'll answer. Now, for those, we've got quite a lot of new viewers since we last spoke to you, Tony.
Right.
For those of them that don't really know you, how would you explain yourself?
Well, gracious, I'm a man who basically, in a nutshell, I'm a man who started having UFOs come over my house from about 1992 onwards. I've had paranormal experiences all my childhood, but from about 92, I started having strange UFOs coming in over my house, and then in 1999, over a period of 4 months, I had a UFO coming in, and I filmed it, and I got harassed because of it, and I had bizarre people following me. I had phone calls. I had all kinds of things happen, and it's took me that was in, let's say, 1999, so it's 2013 now, isn't it? So it's took me a number of years to work out what's been going on. It's taken me a hell of a lot of sussing out and years of research to find out why I was picked, because I'm nothing special. I'm not an ambassador to aliens. Anybody who comes out with that, they've got to think again, because real life, it doesn't happen like that. Aliens don't choose ambassadors. These people in the UFOs, these off-world intelligences, they like to speak to scientists. They like to speak to individuals who are up in our society. But every so often, they'll pick something that they like a challenge with, and that individual was me. And that doesn't make me special. It somehow makes me cursed. So we had strange harassment going on from individuals who were following me in pubs and coming out with remarks that only I would know. And what the baffling question is not that it didn't happen to me, that a lot of more astute people would say, how did they know before you that this was going on? and that is the ultimate question. They seem to know that these UFOs were coming in, and I didn't. And when you've got somebody in a pub, you walk past them and they come out with a remark that is only relevant to what has been happening to you, your brain kind of like thinks, that's odd. And that happened in London recently. Another odd incident. It's all odd. It's just all odd, and you think, oh, are you going paranoid, or is this actually happening to you? You know, we're dominated by the esoteric in our society. It's carefully hidden. But the question is as to what direction that esoteric is going down, as to what direction it's leading us to, and what exactly is it, is the question. And I think some of us have discovered that it isn't very nice. You only have to look at what's happened recently with the BBC and the Savile case to put a pointer in the direction of what's going on. And I think that's all I would need to say on the matter, because it can get, saying too much. It's not safe to say too much about it, but that's the basic gist of it.
Right, okay. Well, those of you who just joined us, we've got Tony Topping with us, and we're talking to him about remote viewing and stuff, as well as himself, because I know there's new viewers on there tonight, and have been since last time we had Tony on. We've got a couple of questions from Chris L. He said, where are these beings from, and what do they look like? Do you know anything about that?
Oddly enough, there was a unit in World War II before it became the KGB called SMERSH, and it's not the same unit you would think of as in the James Bond movie. Mm-hmm. It means deaf to spies, and SMERSH went after the Germans. They went after anybody who was spying on them. But the strange story occurs where somebody sent me an email saying their Uncle Bob in a village in Spain. He says, I'm having a clear out. I used to work in the Russian diplomatic service, and they discovered this handbook called the Extraterrestrial Handbook, or the ET Handbook, or something like that. Dated from 1940, it was standard issue to SMERSH officers, so the rumour says. And in that is drawings of what these extraterrestrials look like, and addresses and photos of children who possibly had interaction with them. And so, therefore, you will never, ever get over the shock of what they look like. Some have pointed faces, some are astoundingly beautiful. But the basic gist of it is it's two legs, two arms. But what they look like is, in some cases, just completely out of this world. You just unbelievable. It deeply shocked me. And where do they come from? Well, that's another question, really, because I think you'll find that they come from all over the place. Interestingly enough, India, who's very open on this subject, very, very open in its media on UFOs, would suggest, there's been suggestions made in the Indian media, that certain star systems and planets are kind of like a planet is actually a regional government, and the star system is like a country. Do you get the scale of that? So whereas we're on planet Earth and we're a country, they're saying that the planet is a regional government, a regional sector. How they've worked that out, I've no idea, but they're saying that there's aliens in that environment. Anything to do with Andromeda and the opposite and the other galaxy is removed. Anything to do with aliens in that area and Andromeda, all that kind of thing, is not there, not present in India's media. It's been removed. And that's where some of them are coming from. They're coming from the Andromeda sector, the Andromeda region, and their technology is very different to ours. And they have problems with their technology like we would have, but at a different level altogether. This is from my own experiences. Right. As I say, it doesn't make me special, doesn't make me an ambassador. I don't know whether the knowledge is correct. They could be telling me anything. Okay. But if I'm just being plain speaking on what I know. You get my drift.
Yeah. Neil says, sorry, not Neil, Nigel Charlotte says, my first UFO encounter, I was visited within a week of it happening by a top police chief who knew all about it when he first saw one. And Dave Lloyd is in the chat room. Welcome back, David. He said, is Tony aware of Project Pegasus and Andrew Basiagos?
Yes,
he says the US government have had teleportation capabilities since the early 70s.
No, they haven't.
They haven't.
No, they haven't. That is a different realm altogether. That is not really written about, but the clue to it all is to do with inception and non-locality, and to do with the inception of time travelers within the environment. Anybody who starts talking about that is on the right track. But no, a nice guy, Andrew. I've had an email with him, but no, I don't believe that the... What is freaking me out, a freaky concept that I came across with time travel, is the Sumerians, who were a very advanced civilization, is the past visiting the future. And are some people from the future on Facebook updating as if in real time in our present, which I think are some really freaky concepts to get your head around when it comes to time travel. But no, I don't believe that the Mars time travel story is just... I don't know, it just gives people no hope, really, doesn't it? I mean, it just... there's a photo of him sat there with Abraham Lincoln or something. He's an Abraham Lincoln photo. He's near Abraham Lincoln on a battlefield at Gettysburg, and they had a time jump thing, and real life and what really goes on bears no resemblance at all to that.
Right, okay. So I hope that answers your question, Dave. Andy707 says, do you think people will start monitoring this show?
Well, I mean, you know, all the time this phone call's monitored, and this, you know, you'll be monitored. But really, what they've got electronic computer systems that just flag up anything that's important. But the thing is, it's where it's all heading to is the question. It's just where it's all leading us to, and I don't think it's leading us down a good path. I mean, sure. I mean, we haven't said anything wrong this evening.
No.
We're not causing any harm to anyone. But I'm sure this show will be monitored.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Well, I've always had a feeling, to be honest with you, when it comes to UFOs and stuff like that we're learning all the time, and I feel as though we're just hitting the boundaries of it, and the more we pass them boundaries, the more that they start thinking, hey, they're learning too much, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's the esoteric engine behind everything, and it's a very ancient one that is actually causing this. And some of the governments out there actually, well, the governments is a wrong word, but some of the more, I think, classified agencies who've studied all this, America in the 1950s, they twigged on this. They actually twigged that this is what was roughly going on. That some kind of, and obviously Charlock's research, Nigel, his research is to do with portals and the opening of portals in his book.
That's right.
And you know, his work has a bearing on things, because the American government in 1950 actually twigged that there was something going on between esoteric symbolism and the ceremonies that we see today, and the triggering of these portals for unknown intelligences to wander into us, to wander into our environment. And now, if they twigged that in 1950, I wonder what they've twigged today, is the big question, isn't it? Well, what have they sussed out today that's now happening around us, you know?
Right, so, but you cover quite a load of stuff on your website, don't you?
I do.
You've really gone into this.
Yeah.
And it's not just remote viewing.
No.
You know, there's loads of stuff. You've really gone to town on this. And I know you say that you wanted to find out why, but there's a lot.
There's a lot of it. The reason why is because it's designed in such a way that I have a high rate of return visitors.
Yeah.
What happens is that people go back to it, they look at this, they look at that, and I've noticed I have a very high rate of return. It's designed in such a way to keep people looking at it all the time, and just excite them in such a way that there's RS-33 on there, the Collins Elite. You know, the which was like a top secret agency, which is very interesting. That's to do with remote viewing, and it's a secret agency that was formed probably around the time of Majestic 12, and that's due to the excellent research of Nick Redfern, who is excellent researcher, pulled that one out, and it made sense. And there's also the bit to do with Britain in Antarctica battling against the Nazis before the Americans knew about it, under something called Operation Tabalan. I've yet to put that on my website. So there's loads of stuff to get there for your listeners to get the teeth into and look at. There is.
Yeah, Nigel says we have to be brave like yourself and push on through. The powers that be will try to stop us. And Chris L came back and said, do you think aliens will make everyone aware of these presence anytime soon?
That's what's going on. That's certainly, there's some sort of awakening going on within people, and I'm beginning to think now that presidents and prime ministers actually are aware. They're aware. I think they're aware of this conspiracy that is going on, which starts with international banking, bankrupting nations, The strategy is happening in Britain now, and it's a national security issue whereby you have a banking system that appears to be subtly moving and escalating to bankrupt the country, so that for some reason we can get a big loan and bankrupt ourselves even more. And it's absolutely insane. And more people are waking up to it. The people of Iceland certainly did. But, we've only got... I think sometimes the British people are just asleep. And those of us who have an opinion, recently on the BBC programme I did, which I did regarding 7/7, and I was calling for an official inquiry. That's what I was calling for, and there was this massive bust-up, and I was totally misrepresented. I was made to look like some kind of idiot. This is in the public domain, so I can discuss this.
Yeah.
And it was an absolute tragedy, actually, what happened. I thought it was a tragedy that the BBC could professionally misrepresent people in such a way. It's discrimination. Anything that is alternative or all that kind of thing with the mainstream media appears to be frowned upon. But yet some of these people in the media pray to a supreme being called God, which is paranormal. How do they work that one out?
Well, this is it.
But then you guys and girls in the room there, if you put on mainstream media your viewpoints, you'd be ridiculed. And I just find it odd.
Yeah. We've got some more questions for you. Dave Lloyd came back again and said, does Tony think we are actually living in a quantum hologram?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, straight to the point.
Can you go a bit further for that one?
Oddly enough, that we've been investigating for City Talk 105, we've been investigating India and all their research that they were doing, because we were convinced that some kind of think tank, UFO think tank in India, had just been casually leaking stuff to its media. And one of the things which absolutely fascinated me, and I don't know whether it's correct, but basically one of the things they kind of like worked out, whoever these people were, and they must have sat down and really worked it out, was the life after death process as being an actual return to the projection, a return to the higher intelligence that's causing this holographic projection. That in fact we're actually part of it. We're actually part of this higher intelligence. And that's probably why human beings have such a fuss and flap around them with these UFOs around them, and that's why UFOs are so interested in them, because there's a possibility that we're linked to something that is a higher kind of intelligence, and that they kept banning this term around Type 7 technology, Type 4 technology, but Type 7, a Type 7 intelligence. And when they were kind of like trying to suss out when the soul leaves the body and goes down the tunnel of light, there's this process of recalling your life, so they say, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the precise details, but they were working out the physics and the quantum kind of dynamics of that process, which they said was complex, highly complex. So this is the kind of thing that kind of nations are looking at, but keeping quiet about. And so I do think, yes, we are a projection, and that was recently in the mainstream media, wasn't it, about us being a holographic projection.
Right. Let's see if we've got anything else. Because my chat room flashes up a bit too far. What have you got there?
Yeah, Tony, can you tell us a bit more about these Arctic Nazis? Because Andy 707 seems to think it was a total myth.
Seems to think it was what, sorry, mate?
A total myth.
No. It's a civil servant actually who did this research. And what happened was he took the testimony of some Special Air Service officers, and he interviewed them 4 years later, and the story hadn't changed about the fact that they'd gone on a special mission. Well, it was actually one of the veterans. I don't know how many of them are still alive, but he was in the special boat squadron or something like that. And they were tasked with going to the Falklands. So they were told, when in fact they were tasked with going to Antarctica to discover why people on a British base had been mysteriously killed. And when they got there, they discovered that there were all kinds of strange goings-on, and some references to polar men. These people had made a radio transmission and made references to polar men. And so they formed something called Operation Tamerlan, which was Britain's secret operations in Antarctica. And they discovered that some of the Nazis were still there, but they didn't tell the Americans any of this. Now, what's interesting is that the guy who was interviewed, he was interviewed about 4 years later, and his story didn't change. It would have been interesting, though, in fairness to the point made, if they could get another witness in. If they could get another witness who witnessed it. They only interviewed one individual over the space of 4 years who didn't change his story about it.
Right.
And it was called Operation Tabalan.
Tabalan.
Yeah, it's on the internet. Operation Tabalan, it was called.
Right. Is it, Dave Lloyd said, ask Tony if he knows about the island of South Fuel and Sentinel Oil. Or,
Yes,
yeah.
I'm aware. I'm fully aware of that one as well. Yes, yes, that's the Falklands, isn't it? And the latest research by David Griffin and Alec Newald, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I think that's the right one. And it's to do with, I think David Griffin has uncovered something to do with Marconi and the mysterious deaths there. And what they'd done, they discovered some oil, some nano oil of some description that was not Earth-based, not of human design. They took it back to Marconi and ended up coming croppers with it because they weren't sure what they were dealing with. And this, as I understand, has come from Alec Newald and his work Coevolution. I may have got that hopelessly wrong. I may be barking up the road. I think that's the right one.
Right. Okay. Right. Another one from Andy. Which one? Right. Okay. Andy 707. None of my oh god, it's gone again. None of my research suggests that there was no more than a small party which went north to look for fuel. If I'm pronouncing that right.
Fuel. Yeah, fair enough. That's his research. My research indicates differently.
Right.
What I would say is that this was an MOD civil servant who did this interview.
Right.
And there was something far bigger going on with Britain and Antarctica, and the fact that the U-boat fleet disappeared into Antarctica at the end of World War II. Elements of the U-boat fleet disappeared. In fact, if you wanna get really genned up about it, it's the Russians who know what's going on in Antarctica. If you look at some of the Russian guys who researched this, and they believe in some I don't know whether this is correct, but they believe that Antarctica is a wormhole. It's like a wormhole point of entry in some cases. But they said that from the Russian point of view that the Nazis had disappeared with a U-boat fleet. The Americans went after them. But meanwhile, the British had gone there and not told the Americans what was going on. But yeah, I mean, I'm open to suggestions. I'm hearing this. You see, I'm hearing this third party, but I just think that there's credence in the fact that the guy didn't change his story after 4 years. Still the same story, and it's on Nexus magazine. I think if you look up Nexus magazine, you'll find the whole documents are on there.
Now you also deal with a lot of conspiracy theories, don't you? Which seem to lead in everything. If you think about it, everything you talk about, as with the paranormal, it always leads back to it, doesn't it? Really?
Yes.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, with it does, and I tend to seem to get involved in conspiracy theory, and it's not my kind of thing, really. It's not what I do, but it seems to me that the media seem to gravitate me towards that. I mean, I was portrayed in the media as a conspiracy zealot, a madcap, crazy conspiracy theorist. I'm not. That's actually not me. I don't know where they got that labelling from, but they seem to actually label me as that, and that's what I aren't. But there again, when you've got the esoteric engine driving the media, anything can be said. You can be made to look stupid, can't you? I don't know whether I don't know in what context you mean the paranormal and conspiracy theory, and it all relates to conspiracy. Sorry, what do you mean by that?
Well, with the paranormal, when we're talking about, sometimes when we're talking about UFOs, and we'll be talking about ghosts and stuff, it all seems to, and cryptozoology, 9 times out of 10, it always comes back to the unknown, and like sometimes people might say, well, with UFOs, if we were talking about UFOs, it can cross with ghosts, because they say that sometimes it does coincide with a ghost apparition scene or something, things like that.
Yeah.
So and it's the same with yourself. Everything you seem to cover.
Yeah.
Most of it seems to come back to that title, conspiracies.
Yeah.
In the actual world.
I would suggest there's been a conspiracy regarding me in terms of what's been happening and what's been going on. Somebody somewhere does know precisely what's been going on with me. I'm the last one to know. And so there has been a conspiracy there. And the technology they used on me in terms of mind control was just horrendous. Absolutely bloody horrendous, and still is. And it's not for your listeners' ears, because it's just brutal, absolutely brutal. Because somebody somewhere does not like human beings to be awake and aware of what is going on around them. They can try and stop it as much as they can, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think people are going to get more and more awake, and we're going to see big changes in our governments. Big changes here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. We were doing a thing about UFOs recently, about these ships that people are seeing and sightings, and we were saying them what they could and couldn't be. There was some some theories like maybe they're just scouters, like radio controlled machines just picking up all the data, you know what I mean? Well, instead of sending a load of aliens sort of like light years away just to check on things. Because I've always thought, well, there's a lot of people seeing these UFOs, and and the government are going, oh no, but we must be seeing something. Are they just drones, or are they? What do you think these spaceships are?
Well, interestingly enough, back to India again, there was an observation with these mysterious leaks that were getting into the Indian media that you wouldn't see in our press about UFOs, and they were giving an opinion on the Vietnam UFO crash, and their assessment of it was that the thing was you see, what is interesting with this UFO stuff is that the technology base hasn't altered. So from about the time of Alexander the Great, they're all flying discs. They're all silver discs. They're all balls of light. They're all this. But what the Indian kind of Indian thing has observed with all this is that there has been a change in the technology. There's been a change from the craft becoming more biologically intelligent. They've become bio UFOs instead of kind of normal UFOs, and they've changed from discs to triangles. Now they've observed this, which is very interesting. They've been watching. They've observed what's going on. And they've indicated that these kind of things, some of these things, as you said, are probes. So they come in and they're actually, the Vietnam one, they reckon, that crashed was actually a probe. And what they do is they replicate, and it causes a technology. This is mind-blowing, but seemingly they replicate, and they can cause technological problems because they're just doing their own thing. They've ended up going AWOL. It's like our drones on speed doing their own thing. A drone, can you imagine one of these drones just suddenly adapting its own awareness and doing what it likes? Yeah. And seemingly, if these safeguards are overridden, that's what can happen. And they seemingly, as fuel, they can kind of like I don't know, as energy, they can kind of like process carbon, nuclear, anything they want to try and sustain their artificial intelligence as they're probing other planets. So in answer to your question, I find it fascinating that they've sussed it out. And yes, you're right, there are probes that are coming. They're not just alien craft. No. There again, some of these UFOs that are coming in, and people and having and speaking to people are in bases from the Indian Ocean and the South Pacific area. Of that, I think there's no doubt that they're in ocean bases. They're not just from other planets, and they'll just come in. They will just casually come in and speak to a member of the public and casually fly off again. Yeah. And it's as casual as that. In Peru, for example, that's what happens in Peru, where they just speak to the local villagers. And in India, in a couple of villages in India, that's happening, where they just casually, these so-called people in the UFOs will just be casually speaking to them. Yeah. And I find it fascinating. Fascinating.
Yeah. It does seem a lot happens in America, though.
Yes. A lot does happen in America, but a lot is being kept quiet in America. And it seems that if you observe non-Western press sources, you kind of like can twig on what's going on. You get a very accurate picture of what's happening with the UFO situation by paying no attention to our media outlets and paying attention to foreign media outlets. For example, I'll go back to India again. It's a current theme of mine, but for example, there's a garage in Ladakh, equivalent of half a daily motors, and I found this, it was in the Indian press, that they'd got this TV set that's black and white, and the army had sealed off an area due to UFO activity. And they claimed, these people from this garage claimed that this black and white TV went coloured one day, And this woman, who looked distinctly alien with arm and eyes, spoke in Urdu and said, "Everything's all right, we're just here, carry on, go about your business, chara." And it's comical. It's absolutely hilarious that it's just so... You wouldn't get that in our... Good God, if that happened in Britain, where they, they parked in the local car park, the area would be sealed off, wouldn't it? You'd have all the military there. It'd be unbelievable, wouldn't it?
This is it. Dave's come back again. He said, does Tony have any knowledge of the Aradia couple who live off radiation and say radiation has a consciousness, according to Stuart Swerdlow? Something like that.
Stuart, yeah. There's a lot of them that seem to just occupy my time and say a lot but don't say anything.
Right.
And you can listen to some of these people for nearly 2 hours and they're not really... I can't find answers to my questions from them. So I tend to avoid... But yes, it's quite correct though. They are a radiation couple, aren't they? I've not looked at it in depth though. I haven't looked at it in depth.
He goes on to ask, have you actually heard voices in your head via intracranial manipulation?
Have I heard voices in my head via intracranial manipulation? Synthetic telepathy, I would suggest. When, for example, I think it's in the 3 gigahertz range, but if they point a carrier wave at you in that signal range and modulate it, you're going to start hearing voices in your head, definitely so, and that's happened on numerous occasions, and it's got very, very nasty. Because it's covert, you see. They don't want people knowing that they're under mind control. They don't want people to, they just don't want people knowing that is going on. But what is sinister about it is the gang stalking element of it. The concept that a lot of these mind controls are coming out with, where the goons that are doing it also follow the people concerned as well. Which is known as gang stalking, and that has happened to me, where they've come out with something that they've said in front of me in a ruddy pub, and your mind can't quite comprehend. That happened years back, but your mind can't quite comprehend the situation that's happening before you.
Right.
I got something for you, Tony. There's a big conversation going on in the chat room, and I'm wondering whether you know anything about it. It's about the Americans working with the Nazis after the war in Germany, and carrying on the experiments.
Yeah, under Operation Paperclip. Is that what we're talking about? Or?
They haven't actually said Operation Paperclip, but Sherlock says that his mum remembers a lot of it and has told him stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Americans and the Americans did take the Nazi technology base and tried to do well. They developed the rocket program. They developed a lot of the guns and machine gunnery that the U.S. military used are based on Nazi designs. Which is very, and oddly enough, some of America's top secret aircraft, the TR-3B, so I'm told, is based on a Nazi Mercury lift design that was based on a Vyama design from ancient India. Just fascinating, isn't it? When you they're alluding to the fact that it's not just the tech, but some of the human experiments as well. Yeah, I can well imagine, although I don't know anything about that. But no. On saying that, no, of course, MK Ultra and all the stuff that went on when Richard Helms burnt the files because he didn't want Congress to know what they'd been doing. So I can well imagine that is what's gone on.
Right. Chris L says, I think the whole issue of what they're hiding about UFOs can only last a bit longer, as most people know something or have some knowledge about it. Then our Shabba came on and said, Tony, sir, was united recently. Can you advise me your views on the Egyptian king Akhenaten or something, and the reasons behind him moving away from the Egyptians' way of life? Do you think, with his unique look, he was an alien humanoid?
Yes, I think there is a genetic stream that dates back from ancient Egypt and beyond that to extraterrestrials. I certainly do, and I think that yes, I do. Now it's something. God, It's a question I can't. He's the guy. When we say Amen at the end of a prayer, that's who it refers to, or is it Amenhotep, the pharaoh? Does anybody know? Amen.
Not sure.
It's related to Egypt. It's related to one of the pharaohs. You're
Yeah.
actually saying Amen after the name of the Egyptian pharaoh.
Right.
But no, I don't. I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that question, I'm afraid.
Right. Well, Dave says, got to admit, Tony gives some good answers tonight on the spot.
Yeah.
You know,
Thank
so you know. Well, Tony, again, it's been great talking to you. We've covered a few things apart from remote viewing.
We have, haven't we? Go
You
on.
know, and as usual, you're such a very interesting man to talk to.
Oh, thank you.
You know, and and you know, and we do love having you on the show. And yes, we would like you in the hub sometime, and
Right.
we can
Well,
do
we'll
that
do
remote viewing.
We can do a remote viewing thing, can't we?
Yeah, yeah.
And that will be absolutely excellent.
Because I think
We'll
when
get
you were
that
going to come in in December, you got rolled into this Channel 4 thing, or what was it, or something?
Yeah, that's it. It's just at the moment it's just rejection after rejection.
Yeah.
It's just continual. It's a continual slog to try and get somewhere. But yes, that's still on the burner.
Yeah.
Lord only knows where this is all going, but it's leading somewhere for me, I hope.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, don't let them get you down. I see sometimes when you get a bit despaired on your Facebook.
I do. I
So-
actually despair with it all sometimes.
Yeah, well, try not to let it get you down, my
Well,
sweetheart.
thank you, dear.
All right. Now, you've got a website, haven't you? TonyTopping.com.
Yes, and I'm on Facebook.
Okay. And is it just a Facebook normal page that you've got with your name, or is it?
It is. No,
Yeah?
it's normal. It's a normal Facebook page.
Okay,
with
then,
my
my
name
darling.
on it. I think it's Tony. You'll find me on Facebook
Yeah.
anyway.
Okay. They'll find you if they look. Well, I've put your website on there. Don't forget, anything coming up, let us know, and we'll be happy to advertise it for you.
All right, lovely, and I'll
All right,
come back
and-
to you with a date for popping over and doing this.
Yeah. And you take care.
Will do.
All
Thank
right.
you. Cheers, gang.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, cheers, Tony.
Well, that was Tony Topping, and our next guest has finally found us on Skype, so hopefully the Skype connection will be great. He's a very interesting guy, Tony, I must admit. You know, some people do look at him and think he's a bit out there too much, but, you know, I really do like the guy. What do you think, Neil? What's your opinion?
Well, he's into everything, isn't he?
Well, this is
You know, and that's the way to be.
It is.
You know, I've had my hand in everything.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing wrong with that.
You know, and like Dave said, every question that came at him, if he wasn't sure, he didn't make it up, but he was on the spot and answered every
Well,
time.
if you've got that knowledge, you can answer
Yeah.
it. You know, and it's,
But
it's
if
the
you
same
go
with
onto his
anybody, really.
webpage, he's got so much. Not his webpage. His website basically. It's Tony Topping, UFOs and paranormal spies, espionage, conspiracy, and the world of the weird. And you got a bit about him, about UFOs in 7 minutes. I'm just reading some of the topics.
Andy said interesting is weird.
You know, a 1968 rare report by the Rand Corporation, UFOs want to do. Then you've got a secret UFO agency called Collins Elite, what the US knew in the 50s and still know today. You've even got conspiracy thinking or psychotic illnesses, diagnosis of psychosis in the light of mind, invasion technology. There is really, really loads of interesting topics on there. It might be worth you popping over there and having a look. But yeah, and thanks for all your questions. We do have, don't forget, we do have a telephone line if you do like to ring up and ask your questions and talk to our guests over the phone. And basically the ticker should be showing, but the number is 0844 414 3982.
The ticker is there. That's it.
Okay, and if you want to Skype us, it's ktpf.paranormalshow. And in a few moments we will be bringing on our next guest. But what I'm going to do for now, we're going to go through the paranormal events for you. So we'll have a quick break. That'll give me time to get some more water. So
we've got all the news right here. Don't go away.
Fed up of wading through the activities and events that other advertisers include? Find just what you're looking for at paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory.
On the 2nd and the 3rd, DI Paranormal UK are going to the South Yorkshire Air Museum in Doncaster. Also on the 2nd, the Haunting team are going to Alton Towers in Alton. Also on the 8th, there's a psychic night at the Costa Coffee Shop in Chelmsford Town Centre, Chelmsford. On the 8th of the 3rd, Prestige Paranormal are doing a ghost hunt, dinner, barbecue and history tour at Gregginos Castle in Powys. And on the 9th of March, UK Shadow Seekers are going to the Stockport Masonic Guildhall in Stockport. And on the 16th of the 3rd, you can have the Pendle Hill experience with DI Paranormal UK at Pendle Hill in Sabden. Also on the 16th of the 3rd, there's the monthly psychic one-to-one readings with Neil Monley and Suzanne Lilly. Just go to Neil Monley's website for more details. On the 22nd of the 3rd, there's a psychic night at the Forest Glade Football Club in Billericay. On the 23rd of the 3rd, DI Paranormal UK are going to Morecambe Winter Gardens in Morecambe. Also on the 23rd, Spirit Watch Ghost Hunting Experience are off to Pendle Hill in Sabden.
So check out the one-stop paranormal directory for more investigations and events available now. ParanormalEventsForYou.com also offers banner advertising for only £10 per year. See our website for more details. ParanormalEventsForYou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory. Yeah, well that was the events for this week. I think I'm back on.
Well, if you're not, I'll tell them that is the
Yeah,
events for this month.
This month?
They're all there for March. That's all the March dates we have so far.
Next month, actually.
Yes, we're still in February, aren't we?
Yeah, tomorrow's the last day.
Well, that's all the events to come up in March so far. I'm sure we get some more along the way.
I don't know. March is nearly upon us. So Easter is next.
I can't wait for our one.
Don't forget, March the 10th is Mother's Day.
And not just because it's being filmed, but we don't seem to have done an invest for ages.
We haven't. That's why we haven't. We haven't done an invest for ages. So
been doing lots of other bits and pieces.
yeah, but as I say, it's it's not being too bad, is it?
Andy just said he thinks he'll be going down to the Costa Coffee House in Chelmsford.
Oh yeah.
That was a bit of a tongue twister trying to sound.
Was it really?
Costa Coffee Shop. Costa Shop.
I don't know.
Especially when you got a dry mouth.
It's great that you are interested in Akhenaten Shabs. Wasn't trying to sell you the book, but many on here will think I was. Now, Neil, sorry, that's because he's here. Nigel, I never realised that Tony knew about your book. And he plugged it this time, not me.
Yes, we are not guilty this time.
Oh, it was quite funny when he came out with
He
that.
came out and said it.
I'm like, Nigel's got a book.
They said the same on there. Nigel got a book, and then Joe went, no.
So, Nigel, you're getting famous. It's going all over the place.
Psychic postman. You know what that means, don't you? That means Tony gets the royalties this time instead of me.
Pardon?
Tony gets the royalty payment this time
He
instead
does.
of me.
Tony gets the royalty payments. I don't know. So, well, I hope you're enjoying the show anyway. As I say, we're trying to cover a vast subject here, and we've been talking and touching on UFOs. So, our next guest is actually part of a UFO abduction research centre, UFO witnesses. And stuff, and I've always said there must be something in this. There's so many witnesses out there that say they've seen that, seen the other. So thank you, Andy. He said, "Sure, good show as you always." Yeah,
and Sherlock, no worries, mate. I'll wait until I see you at the portal. And don't be throwing me fiver through it, so I'll have to go after it.
So, but yeah, as I say, it's quite an interesting subject. I know some of you get a bit lost maybe on some of the topics that we come onto, but according to this, Sacha has been on paranormal investigations, so we'll be talking to her about that as well as we bring it back to hopefully the ghost side of things, which is what mainly many of you are involved in. So, but yeah, it's getting quite interesting because we're learning a lot as well, aren't we? Okay, some things might not be interesting to you, be a bit far-fetched, and we've got to have our open mind on it all. It's just the way if that's their belief, then we've got to respect it, haven't we, Steve?
We have indeed. I'll be honest. There's parts of last week's show that I was thinking, nah.
Yeah.
But that's just, it wasn't coming through to me, and that's my opinion. And obviously, we need all the opinions out there. Otherwise, we can't make an informed judgment.
This is it.
So that's something we need to do. You need to get as much information on as much stuff as we can, and then we can all make our own minds up.
Yeah, that's the way to work, So it's like I put on the KTPF recently, and I said, at the end of the day, of all good things that are out there, we need to have an open mind and work it out for ourselves. And once we've listened to it, think about it. It's precisely, Andy. Lots of different views, and it is the nature of a good debate. Right, well, I'm going to contact this lady. Hopefully she's okay. She's been in pain from the neck down.
Yeah, she's not been good, has she, of late?
Right, okay. Let's hope that the is going to be good to us.
Hiya.
Oh, that's a bit better. We didn't have a good reception with
Hiya,
Tony
Sasha.
Cobbin.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Still in
I've
pain?
been in. Yeah. It's not as bad though. When I hurt my neck, when the muscles all sort of tense up, I was completely frozen in position for a while. But I have. I can use my arms again now. So.
I've just been asked whether I'm prepared for you.
Oh dear.
By Nigel.
Really?
Yeah, he said she is the queen of saying it how it is. Well, you go for it.
I like that.
But as I say, we've just had Tony Topping on.
Yeah.
And we've covered all sorts of things. We started off with remote viewing and obviously went into UFOs, which leads us quite nicely into yourself. But I believe you've also done paranormal investigating of the spooky kind as well.
Oh yeah, I've had a very paranormal life.
All right, so we can
I
can
don't
end with
chase
that.
it. Yeah, it follows me about.
So now you've called yourself a lifelong ET experiencer. Can you elaborate, please?
Well, I'd say that I didn't actually come to that realisation. I haven't always known that all my life. Mm-hmm. But I did have an experience in 1997 with a group of people where we saw 2 UFOs, and they were off in the we only saw one initially, and it was off in the distance, moving away from us. Then it stopped, and it zigzagged towards us, and then it came to be right over the top of us. And then a little while after that became stationary over us, I would say only 200, 300 feet, and the craft being about 60 feet across. There was a strobe that came from behind us, and we looked, and there was a sphere that had come down from the ground. I don't know if it had come out of this craft or had followed it, but it was definitely accompanying it, and it manoeuvred itself down and underneath some trees silently. And that was a sphere that I would say, if I stretched my arms out and waved them above my head, that's about how high it was. It wasn't massive or anything, but it wasn't tiny either. And it just pulsed this grey-white light and emitted a mist. And the one above us was like, it had a central circle of light with lines of light coming out from the centre that were rotating. But it was just within the cloud cover, so we could see it in the clouds. And it looked like it was rippling through mashed potato because of the densities, the different densities. And we were all mesmerised. There was me and my boyfriend and his sister and their uncle. I had my son, and his sister, Dania, she had her son. So, we were all awake. None of us had been in bed first. None of the usual explanations that were given as a sort of a popular narrative actually fit the circumstances of that encounter. And as you can imagine, we'd gone to Wales, and we were just sort of in a little, it was quite a nice fair-sized house in Wales. quite isolated, on Berwyn Mountain. And, you know, afterwards, it kind of just, you know, I realised how profoundly it had affected me and everybody.
Yeah.
In fact, you know, when it was above us and we were all kind of stood outside and almost in a line, like we were queuing up or something, and my son was stood next to me and he was 5, and he pulled on my clothes and he told me that he'd seen a hand come through the hedge and it touched his foot, and he thought it was a hedge moving, but then he realised it was a hand. So I said to Steve, who was my partner at the time, oh, the kids are getting scared. So he said, well, we better go back inside then. Nobody thought to look, nobody thought to reassure him, nobody reacted in a normal way to that statement that, you know, that he'd said. If he'd said to me, there's a monster under my bed, I would have proved to him that there wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, but we didn't do that. It was really weird how we were all kind of not in a trance because we were functioning as normally, but like it was almost like some kind of thought process had been just switched off. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it was an effect of the craft itself or if it was done purposely or if it was a kind of shock reaction. But if it was a shock reaction, then we all had the same shock reaction, and people don't ever react the same.
No.
You know, so, you know, I have analysed our behaviour a lot because I couldn't understand it. I still can't understand why, when we had gone all back inside, we all gone inside, John and Danya started watching TV and Steve started doing the dishes and the kids started playing, and I was the only person that was still, like, you know, kind of caught up in what was going on outside. So I decided, for whatever stupid reason, to just go back out by myself. Nobody went, don't be stupid. No one went, nothing. No one said, oh, I'll come with you or whatever, you know. So I kind of watched it. It's quite a length of a garden, and I watched the length of it to stand right underneath it again. And I kind of was looking up at it, and I was thinking in my head, well, now what? You know? I mean, it's just so ridiculous to even, you know, that I behaved like that, because there was absolutely no sensitivity to any kind of danger. I was almost like excited like a kid waiting for Father Christmas to jump off the sled, you know. But anyway, I'm stood there thinking that, and then I heard something run up behind me, and it bumped into my back, and it kind of was so forceful that it pulled my clothes with it, you know, my jumper. Well, at that point, obviously, it was like being hit by a truck, you know, full colour, full sound, full realisation, and I was running, and I was absolutely blind, in panic. I couldn't see, and the only thing I remember seeing, and I knew I was blind, and I knew I was running blind, but I was just running, and I was already running when I realised I was, you know. I kind of did these, what I thought were bionic woman leaps, sort of 3 of them, and it was slow in the air, you know, that kind of really pushing to get as close to the house and back in it as quickly as possible, you know, running for my life, literally. And when I jumped in the kitchen, and obviously I saw the kids there playing, and I just kind of froze and stood there just shaking and trying to tell Steve what had happened, you know, like to kind of like clench, stuttering teeth, like something's just run up behind me, you know. And he just looked at the clock on the cooker and said, well, you aren't been out there long, so you haven't had any missing time. And I think that was probably the final straw for me, because, you know, I'd not even thought of that, and why would that be the first thing that he would say?
Yeah. Nigel said it sounds like a similar incident that happened in Wales to the Sunderland family in Jenny Randall's book Alien Contact.
Not read Jenny's books.
Have you not? So perhaps there is something amiss. So
well, that'd be interesting to read that. I haven't really kind of, and it sounds silly, what I've done is support people by telling them how I've kind of climbed out of the emotional states I was in, but not really looking at how I got into the emotional state in the first place.
Yeah.
So avoiding it by just dealing with, you know, the crisis of it and recovery. So I didn't read any abduction literature until sort of fairly recently, because I didn't want to know. And what I was more scared of, I think, was reading something and a memory coming back, but everything flooding, and I was too nervous to, because I didn't know what was there. And for all of the experiences that I have had in my life, and they're all many and varied, and they're not all aliens and that sort of thing, kind of all kinds of strange things that I've seen. And but it I forgot what I was going to say.
We've stopped you somehow. Right, well, is this the reason why you decided this network up, this support?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about it?
Just didn't want to, I didn't want to know what's gone on. I didn't want to be crippled by it again. So recently I've started reading things and discovering things, and I'm getting even, sort of very well now. So what I thought was, I was in a bad way. I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't know to talk about it. I'd talked to quite a lot of people in the healthcare as well. I've never hidden it. And I was sort of thinking about the people I had in my friends list on Facebook, and there was various psychologists and people of, good standing, etc. And I went to them and I said, would you help me? And, a few of them said, yeah, of course I would, and of course I will. And it was like, well, could I use what you've given me, and could you possibly put something together for me to pass on to other people? And they said, yeah, of course. And I thought, well, I'll get a website and I'll put all the information on the website. And I thought, everybody does that. You can read and read and read and read and read until, you drop dead. But it doesn't make a bit of difference. You need to talk to people. You need to find people like yourself. So I realised that because I'd started to talk to people like me, and I started to stop being afraid and feeling stupid about talking about it. I don't start every sentence with, oh, this is going to sound really weird, but, or you're going to think I'm mad. But, I don't do that anymore because I don't need to, because I've got the right people around me. And I asked them if they would do the same as I was doing, and they said yes. So basically, I talk to people, and they have certain types of experiences or emotional states from it, whether it be euphoric or damaged. And I sort of, if there's somebody that I'm already talking to and dealing with who's like them and has the same sort of events, I put them together so they can talk to each other.
This is it. Nigel actually says that.
Oh, I was about to say that as well. Right, go on, you say it.
The arm coming through the fence hedge happened in the book. This might be a good evidence for the same thing happening over it and again in that area. So it might be something you can look at and maybe able to find out a bit more research on that.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Yeah. So obviously you do this witness support thing. And there must be many people coming through that talk about these anomalous experiences. I've always said that there's too many people out there that know, there's too many people out there that have seen stuff.
Yeah.
So that it must be something going on.
Oh, it's definitely not nothing. I'm not buying it for a second.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And that, that's pretty much what we're told in varying different ways about varying different aspects of it. But that's just pants.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I've always sat there and, as I said, thought to myself, well, there's too much people saying they're seeing it to not be true. And you've actually, I don't know whether you're the only one that does this witness support thing in England.
No, AMASH. That's AMMACH.
Yeah.
The Anomalous Mind Management and Contactee Helpline. That's Joanne Summerscales and Miles Johnston. They do kind of like a contact number. They've got a number that you can ring if you're having experiences, or you're having a hard time, or you just want to talk to somebody. They also are running a witness disclosure program for people to come out and tell their experiences on a YouTube channel that they have, and so far 200 people have done that now, and that's just in the past 2 years. I'm not sure about all of them, but then that's not fair to say, because just because someone's experience doesn't kind of resonate with me doesn't mean it doesn't happen to them. But some things I find hard to take on board, just as I suppose people would when they saw my AMASH videos as well. It's horses for courses, isn't it?
Yeah. So you're UK director of the ICAR, which is International Community for Abduction Research.
That's right.
Yeah. You're also you're also founder of UFOW, which is UFO Witness.
Yeah.
Or UFOW, whichever you want to say.
UFO.
Which offers completely free, private, confidential support for people who would not want to speak publicly about it, and advice and support for those that are out and proud. So we was just mentioning this to Tony. What do you think, these people are coming to us, these aliens coming to Earth? Why do you think they're coming? What's your theory? Have you thought about this?
I don't have a theory. I do not have a set theory. I have a lot of thoughts. There are no answers, so I can't make any confirmations of anything. I always say this to people: I do not have an answer for you, only understanding and empathy, etc. Most people just want to be listened to. Why ever they're coming here, it's I don't know if they're coming here or if they've always been here. If we've done something funky with some stupid technology and brought their attention to us, you can't discount interdimensional beings, portals, and the kind of sort of matter change through frequency. If they just, I've even seen them half in and half out of the room. And I've seen all kinds of strange things that I cannot explain, but the only thing that seems to fit is they're neither here nor there. In between, and I'm sure that they can lower the frequency enough to actually manifest physically in our lives. I mean, I don't even know that's true. I just kind of think that, well, it's the only thing that sort of seems to make sense in my head with my limited understanding of science and nature and what they're doing. It's really tricky because I used to be so close-minded to a lot of things, and this past couple of years since I've been working with people and I've met them and I've heard them and I've seen them telling me face to face, and you cannot fake these the movements and the way that every little thing, the faces, the way they're just not even looking at you, they're looking in the head. They draw so much detail in front of you so that you have pictured the scene in minute detail for a 2-second event. Literally, I've had one woman, she's spent 10 minutes painting the scenario just to say that she bent down, looked up and saw 2 eyes behind this coming through, a crack in the fence. So it's really important to them that we draw the picture so that you can actually experience it with us, because we want you to feel what we're feeling, and it's almost like a form of self-hypnosis. So when I see people reliving what they've been through, there's no denying when somebody's telling you a story and somebody's reliving a moment, there's no way that the body language and the way that the passion and the fire comes from is the same.
I've got some questions for you.
Dave Lloyd has said, have you ever tried hypnosis to get hidden information that's hidden in the back of your mind? And Andy707 said he would be happy to offer his services for regression to events, but not past lives.
Right, well, to answer David's question, no, every single one of my memories is conscious recall, and for Andy, I am really not interested in having any regression whatsoever. If anything comes to me, I will be able to deal with it. I'm not forcing the issue. Several reasons. One, I'm not emotionally stable enough. And the second one is because my youngest child is 4 years old and I have 4 other children. And I cannot afford to go back to where I was. And I can't actually see how right at this point in my life, having more to deal with in my head is going to help me in any way. I already know. You know what I mean? I don't need to go to regression to know. And if I have regression, in some instances with certain kinds of people, it discredits everything that I've ever said because somebody's messed in my head. I have 2 people in mind that I would actually trust enough to give myself up to them in that way. One lives in America and one lives in Lincoln. But even though I trust them implicitly, I am not ready. I'm just not ready for that.
Also, a question from Dave Lloyd says, does it seem to you that more women are being abducted than men?
No, but I would say that the women have had more repeat abductions than the men. The men seem to have very sporadic and sometimes only one encounter. That's in sort of like older generations, but they're maybe a little bit less willing to talk about things. But in children, I've noticed that there seem to be a lot of male children being taken, and that children are becoming brighter and more intelligent. So I don't know if there's, I don't know what's going on with that, but I think that women are taken more often if they have children, because they're sort of like developing our DNA to a sort of previous state, because it's in decline, so to speak. And so I kind of theorise that because they have an agenda, and we're a massive part of that, or we are the main part of it. We're no good to him in a complete state of disrepair genetically. So it's a kind of double-edged sword, I think, and I think that's why children now, these sort of generational, as we move on in generations, we can see how quickly children are developing and how more sensitive they are and empathic they are. So I think that an improvement in the DNA structure is quite a likely explanation for that, because our intellect and our language is a direct reflection of the state of our DNA, which actually behaves like language, even though scientists call it junk. It's not they just don't understand it, but it does have patterns, and so it follows rules like grammar. So I think that I think that's pretty much what's going on. I don't know why that is, but it seems to be a pattern within the many aspects of the different reasons, because it can't be just about DNA. I think this might be something to do with hormones, because they sort of they take children at certain ages. We all have memories of being 12. It's like things happen up to 5, then 8, then sort of 10, then 12. And those are all development stages in children, and so that there are hormonal changes in children. So I think maybe T cells, hormones, and some sort of kind of repair job on our DNA.
Right, I've got a couple of more questions for you. I've got quite a few actually, but I'll put these two together. Andy says, how many times have you experienced the visitations? And Sharlak and Nigel says, could you ask Sash if she thinks these ETs are coming in to her because she is meant to have them in her life, or if it is just by chance?
You'll have to remind me of the first question. But
how many times have you had visitations?
Well, it's hard to say. I don't really know, but I will tell you that I've had visitations I've had my lab experiences, so I know I've had about 3, possibly 4 of them. I'm not entirely sure. I could be making something out of nothing with one. And let me think. 1, 2, 3. I'd say maybe 5 or 6 that I can remember, and definitely seeing creatures in 4 different types as well. 4 different types I've seen over the years from being a kid. Because it's funny, because when you start to talk about it, and at certain ages you remember, like when I was 25, I kind of remember some funky stuff that went on when I was 12. Couldn't really make head and tail of it until we seen the UFOs, and that's when I started thinking back over my life and remembering all the stories of my mum saying that they could never find me when I was a baby. I always used to go missing, and nearly phoned the police, and I'd always end up somewhere really weird and jammed in a corner or whatever. But I don't know if that was me being a monkey, or it could be. It is a kind of common narrative within contact experience, and we've got mothers now relating this about children, so we can say that with certainty that this is a factor. What was the second question?
Do you think that these ETs are coming into your life because you are meant to have them there, or do you think it's just by chance?
Well, it's a generational thing, because contact is not just kind of restricted to just me within the family.
Right, okay. And Greenlee would like to know, would like to ask, where in the country you have had more reports from? What part of England? Is there a specific area, or is it?
I would say Yorkshire and Wales.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that it says like Yorkshire's the #1 UFO hotspot, but I would argue that actually. But I would say that a lot of odd, unknown structured craft in the skies of Wales and Norfolk and that kind of edge are actually military craft. But I think them. It's hard to say because there seems to be pockets of it, you know, areas. So there's little clusters, but I don't know if that's because we kind of gravitate towards each other.
Yeah. in the paranormal world, you know, us being ghost investigators, around Halloween we get a lot of bogus calls and stuff like that, you know. And Ghost Rider 2906 would like to know, do you find that when there's films that come out like War of the Worlds, that there's an increase in reports made to you?
No. But it's not like thousands of people come to me anyway, so I think the amount of people that I'm working with is not a big enough control group to sort of decipher that. But most of the people that I talk to have had experiences from being kids, even if it's just starting off as like remembering paranormal things and then going on to ET or whatever. But I know that people say that, but I think it might be a bit of a myth. I don't have any statistical data really to sort of. I would just be sort of talking out of my bum. I think I'm making it just to sound good.
Yeah, Andy 707 says this does seem to be the case that people don't just have one experience; it seems to run through their life.
Yeah,
all the way through.
Yeah, that is common. I think some of them are chance, though. You know, I think, you know, some people stumble across things that are going on in fields. Either they're just walking and they've walked into a situation, and that's an opportunist abduction, which they might continue on with that person or not, or just kind of like, you know, if it's some kind of like science group, they might have a poke about with the human and leave him completely wrecked on the floor and go off again and never bother with him again, like we might if we sent out a scout party to some sort of part of the country just to sort of, you know, oh, what's this weird animal here, let's have a look, right, leave it, you know, because they might not actually be interested in abduction, but, you know, just kind of life in general on the planet. So
you do hear a lot about probing when it comes to abductions, you know.
We do in the US anyway.
You know, there's a lot of, they've been abducted, they've missed a couple of days or whatever, and they feel probed or whatever. Some people skeptics might say it's maybe sleep paralysis or something like that. What do you think? Have we had them in this country where people think they've actually been taken away?
Yeah. Well, I think what they're doing, what the probe is a frequency modulated kind of gizmo that it resonates at the frequency of the prostate to repair any kind of cell malfunction within it, to make sure that the sperm is in tip-top condition for fertilization. And I think the extraction of the sperm is to remove the contaminated or maybe malfunctioning sperm. It's not necessarily taken to be saved and used. It's to be got rid of because it's, you know, it's you know, it's not good enough. And I think the same happens with the woman as well, and they'll have some kind of frequency treatment on ovaries to make sure that the eggs are, you know, in that same sort of condition. And I think that they do something also because a lot of women suffer from polycystic ovaries. I think they use the same sort of technology to make the ovaries produce lots of eggs at the same time and harvest them all at the same time, because we have lots of women being told that they've got polycystic ovaries and then later on they're told they've not got a damn thing wrong with them, and that's happened to me. I was told I would never have children. I've got 4. You know, so I think that that's what they're doing. You know, these I was looking into this kind of area, and I was looking at research for, because I had an experience when I woke up with my legs in the air and my arm in the air, and I couldn't feel my body. I laughed at myself because I thought I was acting out a dream, and tried to sort of pull my arms and legs down, and I just couldn't feel my body at all. And I noted that somebody was at the bottom of the bed, and they were, and I said, "Oh, put light on," because I thought if they switch the light on, I'll snap out of this. But I wasn't in my room anyway. But as I started to feel sleepy, so I kind of closed my eyes. But I noticed that I had a green dot of light in the crook of my elbow, and I was listening to another lady speak, and she said that she'd had a similar experience where she'd seen green lasers. So I looked into green light therapy. This was in 2011 when I heard this woman say this. I looked into that, and it had just been approved in the previous May for pelvic health in women and prostate health in men. So, and also I'd looked into this sort of Russian DNA research and the frequency modulated laser ray technology that he was talking about, and put two and two together and realised that the probe is a frequency, modulated laser ray to kind of, repair the prostate and, the eggs in the womb before the couple have a baby, or maybe even before they've even met. And I don't know, seems to some relationships are kind of engineered, and like people are kind of put together almost, right. So I think that's what the probe is about.
Right. So you obviously think this because Andy 707 saying, "How does Sacha know this?" So you think this is what it's all about, yeah?
So I've researched it, and because of the experiences that I've had, and I've looked into it logically, it's got to make sense.
Right, there you go, Andy. He said that's pretty detailed information.
I just read constantly. I never stop reading. Nobody in my house stops reading. We all just read all the time. The kids, everybody. So I just take it in. It stays in there.
Right.
And it's got this sponge brain, and it does my head in. My brain does my head in.
When was the last time you had an experience? How long ago?
Actually, no. Last weekend.
Really?
Well, I went to stay with Anne Andrews and Jason Andrews. They're well-known abductees in this country within sort of contactee circles, anyway, and right across the world actually. And they're friends of mine, and they were there. They were the first people I met when I came crawling out from underneath my stone, which is coincidence really, because pretty much all of my experiences happen when I'm in contact with them, but not when I'm always at their house. It happened at a conference once, and all kinds of strange things. So anyway, we're gone to stay there, and I'd taken my friend Paula, who's also a contactee, and she's like double of me in every way, and she had an experience on the Friday night while she was pulled out the window by her feet, and she was over the cornfield opposite the house, and that I think that's all she saw. I can't really remember. Anyway, on the Saturday night they were all talking downstairs, and there was some kind of weird stuff going on, and we've been seeing sort of like cats appearing and disappearing, and just out of the corner of my eye, I kept thinking I'd seen a cat, and stuff bumping about upstairs, doors opening and closing. It's kind of usual. And Paola Harris stayed there once, and I was there with her, and we were there for 3 days, and it was like that constantly, and Paola refused to stay in the house any longer and stayed in a hotel. So it is, it's known. So all I remember is being outside up in the air looking down at their cars, and then the next thing I remember is lying down and being half asleep, half awake, but aware that somebody was pushing their fist into my stomach. And not only did they push the fist into the stomach, they just kind of wiggled it about up and down really fast, Yeah. I don't know what it was about, but it wasn't very comfortable, and I felt, when I was touching my skin the next day, it actually felt sore. So I thought, well, I don't think. And the thing is that they were all talking downstairs, and all this stuff were going on, and I just came upstairs to go to the toilet, and I just felt so tired, and I just walked from the toilet straight into the bed. With a light out, which I would never sleep in that room with the light out, and I was sleeping with Paula. We were sleeping in the same double bed, you know what I mean? So like for company, and I just went to bed, and I missed all this activity that was going on downstairs, and I was off somewhere. So, but the previous one was in March last year, which was just insane, really.
Go on then, Steve.
Yeah, Dave Lloyd says, have you heard a voice in your head while fully conscious with no explanation?
No.
And Andy said he's interested to know the source of your info. What books could you recommend for him?
What books? God almighty. What about abductions?
Yeah, I think so.
About your information, you say you read books and stuff.
Oh, right, okay. Well, no, I do a lot of document reading and science reading, and it's places on the internet that I go. I do read books. What am I reading at the moment? I've just read Anne Andrews' book again. Currently trying to get through John Mack's Abduction and the other one that what was it? And I've just bought Jim Sparks' The Keepers, and I read Communion the other week. Like I say, I've only just started, kind of getting into abduction stories with other people, but generally I've just been sort of listening to other people's and reading some stuff on the net. But then this past sort of month, I've just been buying loads of books and reading them. So I've got piles of them now.
Okay, and Dave Lloyd, if you didn't hear, the answer was no, she doesn't hear voices in her head. Okay, we've got some more questions for you.
One from John there.
Yeah, there's one. Did I miss one before that? I was just looking. 2 seconds, see where I am. No, I think that's it. John would like to know, are abductions more common in rural or built-up areas?
Well, built up because there's more people there.
Built up, right, okay. Right, no problem. Sorry, I was just seeing if there was any more there, but there isn't. Okay, so you've got these websites. Are these websites that ICAR? Have you got a website for them?
Well, ICAR's not my website, but that's Joe Montaldo's, and that's ICAR.cox.net, I think. If that's not right, it's the International Community for Abduction Research. My website, sachachristie.com, is pretty much just full of shows at the moment, and I've few videos. There's some Amash videos on there, and also a talk that I gave at Woodbridge last year, the Rendlesham 2012 conference. And tomorrow there will be my lecture that I gave on Thursday for UFOW, and there's also an ASAP little talk that I gave, but I took part in a panel debate as well, so there's a lot of my blah on there. But if you want to fill in any what ICAR do is they have all these contactee questionnaires, and they're for various things, and there's like the reptilian questionnaire, the grey questionnaire, other experiences, personality types, blood group type, all that kind of stuff. We could crunch data. We don't want anybody's name. There isn't even a place for you to put your name. There is a contact address if you want to talk to somebody within ICAR that's not me. Somebody, if for example, if you're listening and you're overseas somewhere, there are I don't even know how many directors. There's like 30 directors or something all over the world. So these contactee questionnaires, it's basically you can be as honest as you want. Sometimes it's good to fill these things out and look over what you've written, because you don't actually see yourself until you see yourself in front of you, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So you can get an overall picture of things, and you might sort of have a realisation that it's something you never thought of before, But also, it helps us understand the nature of the experience, and what I brought to ICAR was the aftermath and recovery programme, and putting together what the process is of recovery so that people know what stage they're at, because it is a process. It's like the grieving process almost, but it doesn't end in anger and whatever. It ends in happiness. So
that's it. One more question. I think it's a question, I'm not sure.
It is,
from Nigel Mortimer. He says, can you ask Sash if she is going to probe?
Oh, that's in October, isn't it? Probably. I'd love to. I haven't seen Sam and Jean for ages, and that is the weirdest conference that happens in this country. It's the best one. All the unusual suspects turn up, and always something bonkers, really bonkers happens. There was the tragic death of Dean Warwick. That was a horrible one, but I've seen some crazy stuff there, and I had my aura photographed once and stuff like that. And it's always a really good crowd and a good laugh in the pub afterwards. So I'd like to go to that. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Now you're also co-host with Guy Weddle on Citizen Sane Radio.
Right, yeah, we've got a show coming out on Friday night with Christopher George from NYC Second Sight. That's on the Paranormal Radio Network. He's a spirit medium, paranormal investigator, and he's absolutely no nonsense. He's brilliant, so that's going to be a good show if you can tune into that. It's citizensaneradio.com, and it's 11 o'clock on Friday.
Okay. Did you want to ask something there, Steve?
No, just reading what's just coming
right,
up.
okay. And as I said at the top of the interview, you also regularly take part in paranormal investigations and speak on UK lecture circuits and have been involved in various TV and video projects. What paranormal investigations can you enlighten us?
I do, actually. I did National Railway Museum in York 4 times, Thackley Medical Museum in Leeds. We've done lots of pubs. We did a bar in Leeds that it turned out to be the old police morgue, which tied in with some things that we'd kind of like come up with, during the investigation when we did the historical search. We'd picked up on this doctor called Robert, and he was miserable, and he was stuck there. But basically, what he'd done is he'd been paying body snatchers to steal bodies, and it backfired on him when this wealthy family, discovered that the daughter's body was missing, and the 2 body snatchers were caught and sent to York to be hung, and he was demoted from the chief forensic scientist who had actually made incredible leaps and bounds in forensics. He was demoted to just a sort of like grunt coroner, was never allowed to practice properly again, and the daughter's body was found in a box in a pub, ready to be shipped off to Edinburgh to another doctor, so that was quite an outcome.
Andy, B19AJN, would like to know if you've ever investigated York Dungeons.
I haven't. I would love to.
Well, it's not a bad place, but it's a nightclub that's next door that's a problem with the noise. But theoretically, it's not a bad place at all.
And it's also not an actual dungeon.
No, it's not.
It's made up to be that way.
It was an old school, I think it was. An old library or something.
Library, I think. It's part of the old library.
So, what experience have you had on the ghostly side?
Well, funnily enough, the most incredible ghostly experience I had was not on an investigation. It was we'd hired a castle, and we were going to have a party for a couple of people, and everybody had to pay a tenner to get in, basically, to cover the cost of it, and it was a massive party. But we got there on the Friday to sort the place out and put decorations up, and I got a phone call from the Department of Work and Pensions at 8 o'clock on a Friday night, and I was livid. So I stomped out, and I was stood at the top of the staircase, and I was just having a go at this woman, like, are you mental? It's like Friday night, and what are you asking me these stupid questions for? I'm on holiday, right? And I just looked up the driveway to the arch to come into the grounds, and I just saw this woman striding towards me in a long white dress with long white sleeves and long dark hair, and I saw her for literally 2 seconds, and as her sort of dress billowed out as she strode forward and then fell back, she just vanished into the shadows as the dress fell back. And so I'm stood with my jaw on the floor with this woman on the phone, and I was just like, oh my god, you're going to have to phone me tomorrow. Put the phone. I said to Emma, who hired it, I said, Emma, is there a woman in white here? And she just looked at me with her eyes open wide, and she went, maybe. Walked off. I was like, so this woman had died on a wedding day, and the wedding hunt afterwards, and she'd been knocked off a horse and died. So yeah.
So are you part of a group, or do you just go on others?
This is what's just kind of come about since I've moved to Liverpool. I did a radio show on Liverpool Community Radio, and I met this guy, Jim Rimmer, who's got paranormal.co.uk, and he's been doing investigations. He's got a great website and stuff with all the things he's been getting up to. Sort of floating about a bit lost. And my sister-in-law, she's Phoebe Kelly, and she's Liverpool's like famous psychic, and she does this sort of Pete Price show, and obviously with my interests and a couple of other friends who were really passionate about it. And so we've just started to do these paranormal investigations. I'm trying to convince them to call us Spectre Savers.
See, you may be from Liverpool, Neil, but you're not that famous. Are you? Speak to me, woman. I mean, woman, look at me.
I'm not even on.
Why not? Pick it up. Why aren't you on? What's up with this? No. Yeah, talking to Steve's one for a minute.
Well, it's not all about the fame, is it? You know.
Say, like, you know, everybody does, and she's kind of always giving reading, doing.
Let me go over and see if I can fix this one.
Yeah, see what's wrong with that mic. But as I say, it's you and electrical bits again.
Yes,
Isn't
don't get on, do we?
it? I know you don't. You do it even when you're doing the shows. Your mic goes off on you.
Yes.
He's muting myself.
Pardon?
I'm always muting myself. I keep knocking the button on the thing, you know. People are going, Sasha, where have you gone?
No. So Neil, we've got Neil Mannerly here. He's from Liverpool.
Hiya, hello,
Hi,
Neil.
how you doing? You okay?
If I offended you, I'm sorry. I don't know everybody. I just know Phoebe. And
No, I know Phoebe. I know Phoebe very well, especially from the Pete Price show.
But as I say, it's
There's a character.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Pete Price.
Pete Price.
So we used to go on the Zone Unknown show a lot with Roy Basnett.
Right.
Do you remember Roy?
Not really.
Oh right.
I think it was on After Pete.
I think it was on
It's
After
like-
Pete or something.
I've just come across so many people who are really active, and they're all, you know, doing major stuff. But it's like I just kind of sort of get swallowed up in what I'm doing, and occasionally I'll get to know about somebody or something else. Like, oh, hello. Do you know what I mean? I've just landed here, and I'm sort of wanting to get a conference going with Larry Warren and
Yeah.
do some paranormal investigations. Neil, if you want to come along, you are absolutely more than welcome. It'd be
There you
great.
go.
Great.
That's a very nice offer. I might just partake up on that.
So well, Steve and me, Steve and Neil, we're actually UK Shadow Seekers. I don't know whether you've ever heard of us.
Yeah, I think I want Spirits and Shadow. No, not Spirits and Shadow. Do you do investigations for the public?
Yes, I do.
I think I've been on one of yours.
Pardon?
I think I've been on one of yours. It'd be about 5 years ago, maybe.
When we first
That was
after we started.
UK Shadow Seekers we are.
I'm
So,
sure that I had a business card up until I moved a few months ago.
we're based in Manchester.
Yeah. Right. As one of your paranormal investigators on one of them.
Pardon?
Do you have Phil Wyman ever as part of one of your, the investigations?
No.
From,
No.
it can't have been. But it's
No, that's Dead Haunted Nights.
No, it wasn't. It was like Northern Spirits, Shadows, or something. I can't remember. It was Northern something. Forgot now.
Spirit.
Oh, long
I don't
ago.
Northwest Spirit Seekers.
Northwest Spirit Seekers.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're not part of them. Never was.
Sorry.
Never was. So heard of them. So heard too much about them. But no, we're not. Never been part of them. Pardon?
I'll never speak of it again.
No. But as I say, we just do this show just for the fun of it. Really, it's not.
Yeah.
It's, just to get the word out there. So we're just trying to get as many people on that we can actually.
I talk this much all my life, and my family get worn out of me. So I need the internet.
That's probably why you moved to Liverpool then.
Never stop talking in Liverpool.
It's brilliant. They talk at the same speed as me. They're just sort of like 15 octaves higher.
Yeah, exactly.
So somebody asked, have you done places in York? Did you say?
No, we did. Oh yeah, sorry. The National Railway Museum, of course, is in York.
Right.
Yeah, we did that 4 times. That was fascinating. We got absolutely loads of stuff in there.
Yeah.
Like EVPs, and we had a really weird one in the Grand Hall when we went in. Somebody took a photograph as soon as we walked in, and then all this noise started up, and it sounded like trains chuffing and the whistles going and stuff moving and banging and crates bashing. And I swear to God, there was like 8 of us, and we were all just stood there, sort of looking up and turning around and going, what the hell? It sounded like a fully functioning train station. Now Tony and Tom ran out of the hall to the corner, and Tom's the security there. They opened the door at the bottom, and they went outside. It turned out it was all these terns that were all sort of resting on the roof, all these birds, and because the flash had gone off, it had upset them, and one started ruffling, and they went round in a big circle. Sort of all affected each other, and it was the most incredible noise and the weirdest thing ever, because we all swore it sounded exactly like an active train station, but it was just birds on a see-through plastic roof. That was nuts. But I started feeling really unwell at this sort of turning circle, and as I sat down and I was getting a really banging headache, and I was like, oh, I just want to go home. What am I doing here? I just want to go home. And my ears started to hurt, and I thought, hang on a minute, that's not a headache, what the hell is that about? And they were really hurting, like someone was pinching them tight, and I said that they were hurting, and Tony said they've gone bright red, and I just said, I want to know if somebody's had their head crushed here.
Yeah.
Tom said, oh yeah, 1977, he said, this bloke bent down to pick up his tool bag, thought he had time to get it, but they were buffering two trains together, and he got his head caught between these two buffers, and it just crushed his skull and it killed him. And I picked up on that, and that was one of the last investigations that I did, because I thought, I've connected with him, and I didn't, I wasn't like sort of very psychically aware, or at that time it was like sort of 5 years ago now, and not 5 years ago, sorry, but 4 years ago. But anyway, it affected me in the way that I knew that he just wanted to go home, and he was thinking, what am I doing here? I just want to go home. And I just walked off and left him. And now that I'm sort of working with Phoebe, I don't feel like that, because I think because she can actually see and talk to them, she can help them, whereas I couldn't and wouldn't feel that, even if I sort of did it in my head, that I'd actually done it, because I'd not interacted with anything. So there's no confidence in me in that. Do you know what I mean? So even though I could pick up on something, and sense something, that's as far as it goes. So that's why I said I wanted to call it Spectre Savers, because that's what I feel like we could, if we do connect with something that's unhappy, that maybe we could send it to a better place, and not just walk off and leave it there.
Well, we did the Thackeray, didn't we?
Yes, we did, yeah.
It was very warm.
Yeah.
So it was very hot.
It was very hot, wasn't it? I think they had problems.
I think the boiler broke, didn't it? They couldn't switch it off. Yeah.
Neil, what is it? You're a medium.
Yes.
What is it when people go on these investigations a lot, and all of a sudden, they kind of tune to, like,
you don't have to be a medium to become attuned to somebody. If spirit want to attune themselves to you, they will do. They'll get your attention in any way they can. And it's like Sacha just said, that he wanted to move on. If he was that desperate, he would actually try and attune himself to anybody that was passing by, or listen to him, or you do have to be slightly sensitive. Right. But it's.
Hang on, guys.
Have we got a problem?
Have we got a problem?
You said the sound's gone. I don't know if can everybody else let us know what's happening?
Hang on.
Is it just
Are you there, Sacha?
I'm here.
Right, hold on. Sounds good. That speaker savers, Spectre savers. No, I can hear fine. Right, everyone can hear fine.
Must be just Andy.
Must be just Andy. Oh, thank God for that. So, you are on, aren't you?
I'm on, yeah. Everyone can hear me, can't they? I'm not whispering too much, obviously.
Right, so carry on. What was you saying?
They will attune themselves to you rather than the other way around, because they are desperate to move on. They're desperate to do whatever they want to do, and they'll get in touch with you whichever way.
Yeah.
It's the way it is.
Right. So, well, it's nice having you on, Sacha. Keeping the paranormal friendly, which is what the KTPF stands for.
Yeah.
Is a drive that I'm so trying to do.
Yeah.
But I can't understand why there is so much animosity out there.
Ego. I'm right, you're wrong. I'm right. No, mine's best. No, mine's best.
I know, there's a lot of it, isn't it, really, if you think about it.
And
we are the best group.
It's exactly the same in the spiritualist church. It's exactly the same between mediums. It's exactly the same between every single artist you get.
Is anymore, because I am sick of being given flowers. Everybody gives you flowers. It's like, where's all the psychics gone? They're all going off in different directions. Going, I'm not even going in there.
I know. I really can't understand it. We as a group, we're prepared to help other groups. We have helped, when they've been short-staffed. We've helped Simply Ghost and a few others.
They're a really good group, by the way.
Yeah, which are. And, and basically, but we've tried to help people, the up and coming ones, even though they come out near enough, or they did come out every so often, didn't they? It was like popping all over the place.
It came out.
Yeah, but as I say, we just try.
Investigator.
Pardon?
Everyone was a paranormal investigator.
Well, this is it, and I don't feel we're all looking for the same thing. We're all looking for the answers to, so why not share them? You know what I mean? So I just can't understand.
It's mainly the people.
Like Gollum with the precious, aren't they?
It's mainly the people that want to make the money out of it that seem to put the pressure on everybody else. And they don't want to become friendly because they're a separate. Issue, and they're saying, oh well, we're the best, come to us because we'll make a huge profit.
So we're a not-for-profit group, aren't we?
Exactly.
And we'll just enjoy doing the investigation with the public. But obviously we ask the public to pay for it, and once it's paid for, then that's it.
But you can get better places, because let's face it, they don't let us all in for free, do they?
No, this is it.
We get lucky, but other times it's like, no, insurance, blah, 700 quid the night, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is it. We're supposed to be going back to the Thackeray, but do I really want to?
It was really dull in there anyway.
Well, funny enough, it wasn't quite good last time we were there, and Simply Ghosts even said that they've been a couple of times and they weren't really, happy with it, and I'm like, do I really want to waste the deposit and find I'm not going to sell it, so, which is another thing these days, you've got to, be able to back everything up, haven't you?
Yeah.
But anyway, it's nice talking to you, Sacha. Nice to have met you.
You guys, yeah.
And I wish you all the best of luck with what you're doing, and also with your, with your own experiences. I hope it doesn't get too drastic. If you have any more.
I don't think it will anymore, because it was all about how I reacted to it, and I don't, it's not in that place anymore. But Neil, get in touch with me, Hunt, and
I certainly will.
Come along and we'll have a laugh.
yeah, no problem. I'm on Facebook and everything, so.
So.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's been lovely.
That's all right. As I say, we're quite chilled and relaxed here, so it's nothing too formal. But as I said, good luck with the show. Your own radio show and everything.
Thanks,
and hopefully you can come back and tell us if there's any updates or whatever you're doing.
Well, we'll get Neil involved in something, and then we can come on together and tell you all the woo bits.
Why not?
As long as it's not when you're supposed to be working with us.
Stealing him, you're not stealing. And you can come if you want. That'll be it. Everyone's welcome.
No problem.
It's not about it's not even. It's just some. We're all just sort of getting it together and getting our mojo right before we take it out to the public. A few practice runs, so you work together well. That's it, really. So yeah.
Handy 707 said, "Can you tell us again when your show is on?"
The next one's on Friday at 11 o'clock, citizensaneradio.com on Blog Talk Radio. And also every Tuesday I do a show on Critical Mass Radio, that's .co.uk. And last night I had Richard Lenny on talking about the Star Wars things he's been watching, and Gary McKinnon and things like that. So yeah, it's pretty. I enjoy it. Yeah, it's good.
And is that AM or PM?
It's PM.
Right, okay, and that's English time, isn't it? UK time.
It's
Right, okay. Well, everyone said great talk, Sacha. They've really enjoyed it. Thanks, Sacha. Great stuff.
Thanks for all your questions.
Very interesting. Thank you. And as I say, this is getting recorded, so it'll be on YouTube in the next couple of days.
Can I just say one thing, Sacha?
Yeah.
You can take a breath now.
Totally always like this.
I hope your aches and pains ease up soon, but darling.
Yeah, too. I feel like a robot.
Well, you take care.
Thank you.
Stay in touch.
Yeah, we'll do. And you, love.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Well, that was Sacha Claire Christie. She was very nice, wasn't she? So, it's been quite UFO sort of boss down tonight, isn't it?
Very.
Yeah. Don't look at me like that. It's not my fault.
Never said it was. It's just not my given subject.
I know it's not your given subject, but then again, how do you feel about UFOs being something that can happen
around
the same time as hauntings?
At the end of the day, look, if somebody can come from another galaxy, another planet, wherever, all them millions of light years away, wherever, with the technology they've got, yeah, no one's going to be able to hide that away from anybody. I don't care what people say about governments hiding this, governments hiding that. That's a load of rubbish. If they want to get in touch with somebody, they'll get in touch, you know, and that's going to happen one day, you know. We've already got something living in between us, and they've been here for centuries, you know. And I know that for a fact. I'm not going to say why, but I just know that for a fact. Okay.
So don't ask, Andy.
They've already got, they've already got people amongst us. Okay. As the abductions go, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that, but I don't know. Everybody's got different experiences. You know, I can't comment on that because it's not something I've experienced. But I do know certain things are going on. They've been going on for centuries. UFOs, I'm not too sure. I mean, I have spoke to people. I mean, I've done work for British Aerospace. I've done work for Rolls-Royce. I mean, very, very technical stuff. And I have spoke to engine specialists and people of the like. And I do know they've been engineering certain stuff. I do know certain stuff has been going on around certain places around Rolls-Royce and British Aerospace. You know, so don't know.
Okay.
I like the idea that they're.
You haven't got a mic.
I know. I like the idea that yeah, you broke it. I like the idea that in some cases they're here to fix us, like Sacha said with the green laser thing, and Ghost Rider said they live in Liverpool. LOL.
Andy says I'm with Nigel.
I do know there is one living in Norwich with absolutely shocking blonde hair.
Andy said, I'm with Nigel and Andy Collins, not sure if there are physical objects from outer space. So, and Cheryl says she's back in hospital tomorrow, so early night for her. Speak soon, everyone. See you next Friday, Debbie and Lee, and hopefully Sue, Steve and Neil too.
Look out for me up Leeds, Joe. Go for that coffee.
She's on about Friday.
Yeah, I know.
Next week.
Am I on?
You should be.
Yeah.
So good night, Joe. We're going to be finishing soon anyway, and just need to let everyone know what's happening next week.
Coming soon.
Well, next week Neil's coming back, and he's going to be talking about.
Am I?
God knows what.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to leave it to the chat room. Give me a subject, guys.
Yeah. Give him a subject to talk about, and that's what he's going to talk about.
Something that I know actually, but.
Right, at 9:30 next week. Do you remember Alison Winrider? She came on the show a while back. She's going to be starting to do some readings for people, okay? And so you will need to phone up, okay? Or Skype so you can talk to her, okay? It's no good me saying, oh, can you read so-and-so? So you will need to phone. This is where you have to do something instead of just typing in the chat room. I will get you to call me. I really will. Okay, and she's going to do some readings for you. If you're interested in a reading, then let us know. Email us and we can put you on the list. All right? Okay?
Okay, here we go. Look.
Andy, first of all, wants to know what's happening on Friday because Joe went before she told him. So what are they doing on Friday?
They're not doing nothing this Friday. It's next Friday.
Yeah, it's the following Friday.
Yeah. It's Friday the 8th. They've got an investigation at the Fire and Police Museum, and it just happens to be an anniversary as well of Simply Ghost. So they're celebrating there.
And Andy says, tell us about your tattoos there.
The tattoos, every single tattoo that I have represents something that happened in my life.
Okay, so there you go.
So it's a bit of a diary, really.
And I also want you to email me and tell me what you want Neil to talk about next week.
I'm not talking about chewing gum.
Talk about psychometry.
No, it says physiology of the Nile crocodile.
No, Charlac said psychometry.
Okay, psychometry. Well, you can get involved in that, can't you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, well, we'll talk about psychometry then.
Yeah,
okay.
We can talk about that. We can talk about... You wanted a subject to talk about, he said. You still Mike, Steve. He would, but Neil broke it and Neil's had to use it.
I haven't broke it.
He dropped it.
I didn't drop... No, it was still working when I dropped it.
So anyway,
You know I don't get on with microphones.
we've got another mic, is it? One of them mics, or did we sell it to Simon? Oh, drat. But anyway, so if you've got any ideas, send them to us at admin@ktpf.co.uk, and we'll get Neil to talk about it.
Every Wednesday night.
Yeah, so you can contact us, and we will see you all next week. Please have a really good week. If you've got anything planned this weekend, hope you enjoy it. And don't forget, Friday's the 1st of March. So we're getting there. So when you're going to do another Sunday show, we'll sort something out, don't you worry. No, crocodile.
I did actually say a subject that I'm sort of aware of.
And don't forget, on the 13th of March, we have Derek Akora. So we'll see you all next week, and until next time, keep the paranormal friendly. Good night and God bless.
Night, everyone.